Gorgeous day for football here at Ross-Age Stadium as Purdue squares off with Ohio State. There's another game on BTN right now. If you're looking for Rice and Northwestern in a non-conference clash, simply go to btn.com/gamefinder to see where it's located on your cable system. Let's go down to the field now and say hello to Lisa Byington.
Well, Tom, some mixed news for Ohio State, losing Corey Philly Brown, the wide receiver who injured his ankle this week. It's actually the same ankle that he hurt earlier in the season. He had to miss some time for that. With him out, Ohio State only traveled 4 wide receivers on scholarship, and statistically he is listed as Ohio State's second best receiver. But on the flip side, Jordan Hall is back. He had an ankle injury, missed last week against Indiana. The kick returner and tailback is back. Offensive coordinator Jim Bowman said it's great to have him back. He's been great all week, and more importantly, he just adds more depth to that already potent running game.
Lisa, thanks. Luke Fickell knows how important Hall is. He had that key kickoff return against Wisconsin in the 4th quarter where he turned his ankle and hadn't played since. Meanwhile, 2 years ago, Danny Hope and Purdue pulled off the upset. He became the first head coach in Big Ten history to get wins against both Ohio State and Michigan in his opening year. So Purdue, according to Danny Hope, says we love these noon games and early starts. Maybe we can get off to a great start and catch Ohio State napping. Hall back with Carlos Hyde to return the opening kickoff, and that was off Hyde's face mask, and it's still a live ball for the moment in the end zone, and finally touched the back line. Touchback, and Ohio State will come out to the 20. Ohio State last week turned to its ground game not only with Herron and Hyde but also with the talented Braxton Miller. Quarterback draw was the most dangerous play of the game. He had an 81-yard touchdown run, longest quarterback run in Ohio State history. 6 touchdowns to 3 picks this season for Miller. They don't ask him to throw the ball much. In fact, last week they called 20 pass plays and he threw it 11 times. Pressure was an issue for Miller against Indiana. They start out of the I formation. The tight end is Jake Stoneburner. And first play, Dan Herron. First of what may be many carries. He carries it forward for a 1.5 yards. Logan Link with the tackle. Here are the starters for Ohio State.
Michael Brewster, an All-American up front, leading the charge for the offensive line, making his 46th consecutive start today for the Buckeyes. And you talked about Jake Stoneburner, but Boom Herron is the guy on the offense for the Buckeyes. 3 straight games over 100 yards. Again,
turning to the ground, there is a shake-up on the offensive line for Ohio State. Antonio Underwood gets his first start at right tackle today. Talented freshman. And now for the Auto Owners Insurance starting defense. One of the guys that Underwood will have to worry about is Kawan Short, the talented defensive tackle for Purdue. But they're thin up front. Joe Holland is their senior leader in the linebacking core. And in the secondary, Ricardo Allen is talented. He's got 3 picks on the season. They can go man coverage a lot with both Allen and Josh Johnson. Great cover corners. 2-back set. Jordan Hall is there, and he motions out of the backfield. Miller over the middle. Incomplete. Caught. Bobble. And finally incomplete. Stoneburner got his hands on it, but he wasn't the intended receiver. T.Y. Williams was the first guy that Miller looked to, and a pass finally falls incomplete. Ohio State will punt it away.
Well, T.Y. Williams is one of those receivers that's moving up the depth chart with Philly Brown being out of the lineup, and the ball was a little bit high, had a chance to make a play on it, and Jake Stoneburner almost was able to bring this ball in. But we talked about turnovers. Those are the type of plays where Purdue can get that ball, make the interception. That creates another possession for the offense.
Ben Buchanan, one of the best punters in the country. He's a Ray Guy Award candidate. And this one gets caught up in the wind. Wayne Gravesandy takes it at the 41. No return for Gravesandy and Purdue after a 34-yard punt off the foot of Ben Buchanan. Caleb Turbush, still the starting quarterback at Purdue. They may rotate Robert Marvin, but we expect to see plenty of Turbush today.
Yeah, Caleb Turbush has been consistent for Purdue, which if you followed the Boilermakers the past few years, that quarterback position has been somewhat of a revolving door, most notably for injuries. So they like the fact that Turbush gives them consistency at the quarterback position, starting all the games this year for the Boilermakers.
In August, he was the 3rd string quarterback. Then Rob Henry went down with a season-ending injury, and Robert Marv got banged up as well. Toss sweep on the very first play of the game, and this is a big gain for Purdue. All the way into Ohio State territory goes Ralph Bolden, a pickup of 19.
Ralph Bolden finally back to 100% for the Boilermakers, and He's a very good running back. He's got a great combination of speed, but he's got some physicality to him, especially when he gets toward the sidelines. A lot of times you'll see him put his shoulder down to try to pick up a couple of extra yards on contact.
Justin Siller in at quarterback, zone read for the wide receiver, and he takes it forward to the 31-yard line, brought down by Adrian Sabino. So already two different quarterbacks to take the snap as we see Purdue starters on offense.
Now James Shepard getting his second career start, a fifth-year senior. Has been some injuries up front, but he's the guy that's going to fill in at left guard. And you talked about the skill positions. We'll see a number of those guys throughout the afternoon.
Purdue rotates a lot of different guys in, and this is the first carry of the game for Jared Crank, the fullback, who takes it for a first down. Pick up a 5 there for Crank. So we've seen already this Purdue offense marching. They're very good on their opening drives of the season.
Well, you already mentioned Justin Siller getting the zone read wide receiver from that quarterback position. You'll also see Antavian Edison throughout the ball game line up in the backfield. He gets a few carries as well.
4 wide here for Turbush, who swings it out to Gary Bush. Bush near the first down, pushed out of bounds by Bradley Roby. Pickup of 6. Make it a pickup of 8 now. 2nd and 2 coming. Now for the Auto Owners Insurance starting defense for Ohio State. John Simon had a tremendous game against Indiana. 8 solo tackles, 10 total against the Hoosiers. Purdue is in a hurry up. They want to keep this opening drive going. Out of the eye. Bolden again, and he gets popped at the line of scrimmage but bounces it. Bolden met up by Travis Howard, who stood up before some help could get there. Andrew Sweat had 9 tackles against Indiana, but the play of the day was turned in the 4th quarter by Travis Howard, who just had that stop. Howard with a key interception. He's got some big ones this season. Howard with 2 picks, had one against Illinois, and a nice return, and then sealed the win against Indiana. Akeem Shavers is now in the backfield for Purdue. Boy, they're staying fresh on this opening drive. Turbush out to Bush for the 2nd time. And he gets the perimeter, down the sideline, and forced out of bounds. Hustling play. And a gain of 13. C.J. Barnett finally got over there to push him out. How about this opening drive for Purdue?
And I like what the Boilermakers are doing by going with the hurry up right here. They just hit the quick screen on the outside, get a good block downfield by Justin Siller. Bush makes a couple of people miss to get the Boilers inside the 5-yard line.
Turbush operating out of the shotgun. They've had to reman their offensive line. Nick Mondek is now starting up front. Pass incomplete in the end zone. They lost Peters Dry to a back injury. And so they've had to move some guys around on that O-line. But it hasn't been an issue against Ohio State's stout front 4 so far in this drive.
A couple of quick outs here by the Boilermakers. It's important for them to get off to a fast start here. They got to get on the board with a touchdown to get the lead early on in this ball game and establish a little bit of good feel on the offensive side of the ball that they can move it up and down the field. 8th
play of the drive. Turbush keeps it. Turbush stood up, and he's brought down by Bradley Roby and C.J. Barnett. A pickup of 3. Caleb Turbush, not the most mobile quarterback.
Well, they're trying to catch Ohio State off guard a little bit. I don't think they're going to anticipate him running the football a lot this afternoon, but with this Buckeye defense, they've got so much speed, so he's going to have to be careful running east and west because there's way too much speed from the linebackers in the secondary for the Buckeyes to try to outrun anybody on the perimeter.
3rd and goal for Purdue. Opening drive for the Boilermakers. Ohio State went 3 and out. That's Big John Simon at the end. Running back is Shavers. That's Edison in motion. To throw on 3rd down to the end zone. Batted away. Great play in the secondary by Bradley Roby. He was all over Antavian Edison. That will bring up 4th down in the kicking team.
Bradley Roby's just been playing with an enormous amount of confidence as this season goes along. You see him comes across in motion, and he gets right in the hip pocket of Edison right here. Is able to knock that football out. It's one of the guys that the coaching staff, Jim Haycock, the defensive coordinator, said he continues to get better each and every week with experience.
Strong leg Carson Wiggs on to attempt a 19-yard field goal for Purdue. He bounced an extra point against Penn State, but this one fits through. And Wiggs has Purdue Boiler up on top. 3-0 after the opening drive. Ohio State will get the ball back when we return. Look at Gateway to the Future here on the Purdue campus on a gorgeous afternoon. Temperature may even reach the 60s today, and a slight breeze Forecast is for continued sunny skies. We've got a break in the weather again today, partner, because it is gorgeous out.
I think all these Big Ten teams are going to want to follow our crew around, Tom. It seems like every place we've been going this year, it's been great weather.
And we are officially jinxed for next week at Purdue and then the week after in Minneapolis. Hall and Hyde back to return for Ohio State after the Carson Wiggs field goal. It was just a chip shot for Wiggs, and Hall backed up 8 yards deep, takes a knee. So it's second possession for Braxton Miller in the Ohio State offense. Had a whale of a game last week against Indiana. Danny Hope here at Purdue sports a kind of a blue-collar look on the Purdue sideline. They're 4-0 here at home this season. And once he turns around, if he ever does, you'll notice that Hope, very hands-on coach, wears a whistle around his neck during the games. You don't see that every week. You don't. And he was talking about I use it during warm-ups just to make sure that the guys hold up and everything, but you generally don't see it during the game. A lot of coaches will take it off. Obviously, they can't use it once the kick comes off. Herron swallowed up in the backfield. Great penetration by middle linebacker Dwayne Beckford. A loss of 4 that time for Dan Herron, who came into this game 11th in school history. 2600. He's got it in his mouth now. You can't blow it. Yeah, now you're telling us yesterday that we can't do it. We can't blow on it during the game, but looks like Coach Hope is ready to call a flag or something. You think that's probably just a natural? Oh yeah, absolutely. Can't keep it around his neck forever. Got to throw it up there. So 2nd and 12 now for Miller and Ohio State. And they're going to go to the option. Miller cuts it back, and he is brought down after a gain of maybe 1 by Joe Holland. And the Purdue defense getting penetration and slowing down this Ohio State running game. Well, when you go against a team that runs the football so well, you say, how do you slow it down? Well, you got to play great gap control defense, and that's exactly what you saw out of Joe Holland. He didn't fall for the fact that Braxton Miller was going away from him. He stuck with his assignment, stayed in his gap, and when Miller came back, he was able to make the play on him. 3rd and 11. Remember, this is a very young Ohio State receiving corps playing with a freshman quarterback. And in some passing downs last week, they ran a quarterback draw to great success. Pressured now, Miller escapes the pressure and tries to run this one forward. Ohio State will have to punt it away again. Miller took 6 sacks last week. Purdue told us they thought he held on to it too long because he was unsure and didn't want to make a mistake. Well, this is a great situation for Purdue's defense. Anytime that Ohio State gets in 3rd and long situations and they're going to try to throw the football, Purdue's going to bring the house. They're going to bring everything they've got. They're going to do stunts up front where they have defensive tackles and ends twisting. Try to get that offensive line for Ohio State thinking and get in the backfield and make plays. Graves Sandy back for Purdue. 2nd straight 3 and out for Ohio State. Purdue came into this game dead last in the Big Ten in 3 and outs. Buchanan, a low kick, and Graves Sandy takes a fair catch. This time he got taken out by one of his own guys. It hasn't touched the Purdue player yet, and Ohio State will down it at the 40. The Buckeyes think it went off of a Boilermaker, and there was one guy down on the ground, but the officials say otherwise. So good field position once again for Purdue at the tail end of Buchanan's punt. Graves, Sandy, and company got caught up in the traffic, but apparently it will still be Purdue football. Well, Danny Hope and Purdue aiming for the 2nd upset in 3 years against Ohio State. Who is Danny Hope, you might ask? Well, he was born in Gainesville, Florida. His family moved to Miami, where he played football and ran track in high school. Ended up playing football at Eastern Kentucky University for College Football Hall of Famer Roy Kidd. They won the 1979 national title, and he was a captain of the 1980 team that was a runner-up for the national title. Met his wife-to-be Sally at EKU. They've been married for 32 years. His son Chaz, a running back there. His inspiration for the mustache he's had since age 16. Age 16? Larry Zonka. Danny Hope yesterday talked about the fact as Purdue goes right back to the running game and Ralph Bolden to midfield. You know, they rededicated Mackey Arena last night, and in the celebrations here on campus, they had a black tie event a couple of nights ago. When asked if he was a black tie kind of guy, Danny Hope, who was blue collar through and through, scoffed and said, I'm more of a black eye kind of guy. And he kind of had that fist action too, like he was
hopefully one of the guys that was causing the black eye.
Turbush swings it outside to Graves-Sandy, who takes it almost to the 40. So second and short here. From Purdue's offense, we're seeing them attack the perimeter here in their second possession.
Well, they're mixing it up too, Tom. They've been able to sprinkle in Ralph Bolden on the running game, and then they've been getting the ball outside to the wide receivers and trying to stretch the defense for Ohio State, and they've been seeing success.
Tyler Moeller on the field as a nickel back for Ohio State. And they tried to find the edge that time and couldn't. Gain of less than one. Third and a long one coming up now for Purdue. Andrew Sweat in on the tackle of Ralph Bolden.
That's one of the things we talked about earlier. Anybody who's carrying the football in the running game has got to be cognizant of the fact that they can't go east and west. You got to make sure you get north and south. There's too much speed on this Ohio State defense.
They go empty on 3rd and 1, trying to get Ohio State to jump at the outset. Turbush checks with the sideline. Purdue will use a timeout here.
Purdue calls their first timeout.
Midway through the first quarter, Purdue already leads Ohio State 3-0, and the Boilermakers continue this drive when we return. Another gorgeous afternoon here in West Lafayette. Purdue leads Ohio State 3-0. Neil Armstrong statue in the background, not far from the stadium, just a stone's throw here. Odd decision that they burned a timeout on 3rd and 1 here in the first quarter. And now Akeem Shavers is the running back as Purdue looks to pick up 1 yard to keep the drive alive. Shavers to the edge, and he got it. Scrambling forward, Andrew Sweat able to trip him up. Could that be an issue that they used a timeout in the first quarter like that?
Yeah, we'll definitely need to keep an eye on it. But we talked about with the coaches in our meetings yesterday last week that they went for it on 4th down a couple of times and they came up short. Now that one was 3rd down, of course, but they just wanted to make sure they had the right play dialed up, and Akeem Shavers was able to get the 1st down.
Shavers into the heart of that Ohio State defense, which is its front four, and Garrett Goebel, redshirt junior from Villa Park, Illinois, brings him down. Goebel against Indiana had 7 tackles last week. Shavers is a guy who shares carries with Ralph Bolden. They also like Jared Crank, their fullback, a lot. Now remember, on this drive for Purdue, that Carson Wiggs has a tremendous leg, and they're already basically in his range. Let's say cross the 40. I know that crazy to think, but he's got a great leg and the wind would be at his back. Ross over the middle, and he takes it inside the 25. O.J. Ross, sophomore from Florida, with his first grab, and he takes it 15 yards for a Purdue 1st down.
Great delivery right there by Turbush. Anytime you get a quick slant route, you just got to get that ball away on timing, and he throws a strike, leads Ross a little bit, allows him to make the catch and run forward to pick up some extra yards.
Turbush 4 of 6 through the air, and he goes that way again. This is Edison, and Edison has it right at the marker. The spot will be just shy of it, I believe. C.J. Barnett, 3rd-year sophomore from Dayton, Ohio, with the takedown.
Well, we talked about Antavian Edison and his dependability for this Purdue offense. Now 18 games in a row where he's had at least 1 reception. Actually lined up in the backfield at that opportunity, so you can see how they like to move him around on the offense and try to find different ways to get him the football.
Now out of the eye with Crank, the fullback. Play action. Turbush looking for the end zone. Incomplete. Coverage down there by Howard. Siller was the intended receiver. Their feet got tangled up near the goal line, and Siller went to the turf. Home crowd in front of that lively student section wanted a flag. There was a flag, and the official just announced that the ball was uncatchable and therefore no pass interference penalty.
You can see that ball was definitely out of the hands of Justin Siller right there, so that's the reason why there wasn't a flag thrown on it. The ball was uncatchable. Good coverage there by Travis Howard, sticking right in Siller's hip pocket.
Good to hear from Todd Gearlings, our referee today. Purdue has hit on 50% of their short 3rd downs, and this 3rd and 1 they get a flag. Remember, they converted a 3rd and 1 a moment ago with Shavers.
False start, offense, number 63, 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
James Shepard has moved into the starting left guard spot for Peters Dry, who's out with a back injury.
There's Shepard right there. We talked about him being a little bit new into the lineup, getting his 2nd start. Just a little bit anxious to get out of his stance. Puts Purdue in a difficult situation. They had 3rd and short, had a lot of opportunities on what type of plays you can call. now you're pretty much have to dial up some type of pass play, and you know that the Buckeyes are going to be expecting it.
3rd and 6 for Turbush. Rolls out all day. Turbush now throws complete. First down inside the 10 to Gary Bush. And Bush already with 3 grabs on the day. That one goes for 9 yards, and Purdue quickly, with no huddle, back to the line. 1st and goal from just outside the 9. 7 first downs already for Purdue. On the ground, Shavers shakes and gets inside the 5 before he's hit by Christian Bryant. A pickup of 5. It will be 2nd and goal from just outside the 4.
You know, go back a couple of plays ago, Tom, and you had that reception there by Bush, and I think that's the development of Caleb Turbush throughout the season. The fact that he didn't panic once he got outside the pocket, saw everything covered up. He took his time and allowed Bush to find just a little bit of opening, and he was able to get him the ball to pick up the 1st down.
2nd and goal. On the ground again to the end zone, and touchdown Shavers. An 11-play, 60-yard scoring drive for Purdue. 2 possessions, 2 scores for the Boilermakers. Wiggs pops it through. Purdue aiming for its 2nd straight upset at home against Ohio State. And in the 1st quarter, they're off to a rousing start. Boilermakers 10, Buckeyes nothing, thanks to Akeem Shavers. And Purdue extends its lead. .409 to go in the 1st quarter. 10-0 Purdue. Caleb Turbush 4 for 5 through the air on that scoring drive, including a big 3rd down grab by O.J. Ross. Ohio State has lost 2 of its last 5 trips here to Ross-Age Stadium. And they're 1-2 on the road this year, while Purdue's lone home loss came in a under-the-lights contest early in the season against Notre Dame. So they've had great success here at home, including a win over a ranked Illinois team. And a blowout of Minnesota here at home. This is Hall, gets a chance to bring one out for the 1st time today. He hurdles a man and carries it past the 20. Extra action after the play. Let's go down to the field once again and check in with Lisa.
Tom, as you can imagine, a very pumped up and fired up Purdue defense watching their offense on that scoring drive. Ricardo Allen going up and down his defensive line, giving them high fives, followed by Joe Holland, who is smiling, giving high fives and pumping his chest. Gary Emanuel, the defensive coordinator, preaching to his defense, let's do this all day long. In fact, the only hiccup that I saw was Kawan Short. He had to spend half the time getting his face mask tightened, but so far so good. He's back out there.
Thanks, Lisa. It is a front 4 that is a bit thin for Purdue, and Herron, trying to take advantage of it, carries it straight ahead. Gain of 6 for Herron. Logan Link had the tackle for Purdue. Up front, Boilers are without Ryan Isaac, who suffered an ACL injury Tuesday before the Wisconsin game. They lost Robert Macy last week as well. He's out for the year. They lost a lot of experience and leadership from Macy at end. And so they only have 3 guys on the interior to rotate through. Herron tripped up in the backfield. Great play by Gerald Gooden. Now let's take it to Dave Rebson in the studio for a Discover Card game break.
Okay, Tom, Northwestern and Rice. Dan Persa to Jeremy Ebert, a 90-yard touchdown reception and an 81-yarder last week. This is the 2nd longest pass play in Northwestern history. They're up 7-0.
And we welcome Rice to Evanston. Say hello to Mr. Ebert. 3rd down for Ohio State. Play clock at 7. Miller out of the shotgun. Empty backfield. Gets the play off. 3-man rush. Miller trying to dance, and he is brought down by big Cowan Short. Face mask fixed, and Purdue forces its third straight 3-and-out on the Buckeyes.
Talked a little bit about Cowan Short being one of the better defensive tackles. He actually lines up outside in a defensive end position. They drop into coverage, but watch him continue to work on this play. He keeps moving, and Cowan Short ends up getting off the block and ends up making the tackle on Braxton Miller to force the punt for the Buckeyes.
Interesting also that they dropped Ryan Russell as a spy that time on Miller. Buchanan on for another punt on this 4th and 4. This is a much better punt from Buchanan. Greg Sandy takes it at the 35-yard line. 39 punt from Buchanan. BTN introduces BTN Live Big, the initiative to recognize and inspire community service efforts throughout the Big Ten and the world. To live big is to find a cause that you're passionate about and to do something about it. Don't miss an all-new BTN Live Big, hosted by Dahani Jones and presented by Buick. Monday at 9:30 Eastern on BTN. Good field position once again for Purdue. Off the 3rd Ohio State punt, Ralph Bolden is the tailback. Set up the inside screen. Edison takes it to the 40, a pickup of 5 on first down. Storm Klein with the stop. We've talked a lot, and we did last week, about the front 4 for Ohio State. Hankins, Goebel, Bellamy, Simon, Bennett and company. Why haven't they been an issue so far here today?
I think they've been caught a little bit off guard by the fact that Purdue has been going a little bit more up-tempo than they've showed in the past, and so these guys haven't been as aggressive because they're not quite sure what personnel grouping is coming out on the field, and in turn they're not getting set quick enough and not firing off the football.
Ralph Bolden with a 6-yard gain for a first down. Eighth first down of the game for Purdue. 10 points to show for it. Turbush wants to run a quarterback draw. Got bumped at the line of scrimmage and picks up a couple. Michael Bennett, freshman from Centerville, Ohio, got some penetration that time on Turbush.
You know, coming into this game, we knew what Ohio State was going to do. They were going to run the football, and the Purdue defense needed to play well to slow that down. I think through this first quarter of the football game, you're seeing inspired Purdue defense being able to come out and get a few stops on the Buckeyes. In turn, that's what's got Purdue in control of the ball game.
Out to the edge again on the swing pass to Bolden. And he picks up 3 to take it near midfield. The junior from Folkestone, Georgia, has already had some big plays in the first quarter. I shouldn't assume that Purdue won't get a playoff because they've been going up tempo, as you said, but now Turbush will walk to the sideline. And what a first quarter for Purdue. Luke Fickell's Buckeyes having a hard time slowing down this Purdue offense. Meanwhile, Ohio State's offense has been shut out 3 straight 3-and-outs. First quarter in the books, and all of the momentum belongs to the home team. Purdue leads Ohio State 10-0 with 3 quarters to play from Ross-Ade Stadium. This Veterans Day weekend, join the fight to put an end to homelessness among our military vets. It's time to remember those veterans who served America in a time of need. Now they need your help. The Letterman's Challenge is dedicated to ending homelessness among our veterans. To learn how you can help, log on to homelessvetsproject.org today. Here in West Lafayette, the Indiana State Soldiers Home Cemetery on a gorgeous fall afternoon, and the graves dedicated for Veterans Day weekend. And some military folks and soldiers at the ball game today as guests of Purdue University. Third down for Turbush and the Boilermakers. He's finally pressured, will roll and try to dump it. Dangerous and incomplete. He's tried to fit that over the head of the 6'5" Solomon Thomas, who would drop back in coverage. And a couple of Buckeyes chased Turbush.
Ohio State got a much-needed stop right there to be able to get the football back. But what needs to happen for the Buckeyes to get back in this ball game is they somehow got to change the field position, and that means the offense have got to get a big drive going. They got to get a big return by Jordan Hall or a big punt when they're on offense to try to turn the field position.
Not a pretty kick at all off the foot of Cody Webster. And it takes a Buckeye bounce. Decent field position for Ohio State. Time of possession dominated by Purdue in the first quarter. 9 minutes to 5:52. And they converted 3 of 4 third downs. What else surprised you?
I think the biggest thing was the 3 out of 4, now 3 out of 5 on third downs. But you can see Ohio State with 11 rushing yards and 0 passing yards. They just haven't been able to get anything going on offense. They've got to pick up a couple of first downs, as I talked about, to try to at least get into scoring territory, if nothing else, to change the field position of the ball game.
Miller only threw for 55 yards last week, and that one is incomplete. A bullet looking for Evan Spencer. Lisa told us before the game that Ohio State will be without Philly Brown today. And while Brown, who didn't travel, has been battling ankle injuries most of the season, remember he missed 3 games earlier, he had started the last 4 games. And Philly Brown, the sophomore receiver, over those last 4 games had a total of 9 catches. The rest of the team, 10. So he had become a key part of Ohio State's passing game, as limited as it may be.
Well, and you know they're already young to start at the wide receiver position, so that's where guys like Jake Stoneburner, the tight end, has got to step up. They got to find ways to isolate him in the open field and get the ball in his hands.
Miller escapes pressure from Gooden, steps up, lets it go on the run, caught. Herron has it for an Ohio State first down. First completion of the game for the Buckeyes, goes for 19.
Well, that's the athleticism that Braxton Miller has, the ability to extend plays and continue to give Ohio State a chance in the running game. He's able to shake loose a little bit, and he finds Dan Herron down the football field. Looks like Purdue's got him wrapped up for a sack, but his athleticism keeps him alive, keeps his eyes downfield. One of the best things you can see from a young quarterback is that he continues to keep his eyes downfield once the protection breaks down.
So into Purdue territory for the first time. Play action, they want to throw it again, and Miller almost stumbled over his own feet. Now he gets him set and will take off. Braxton Miller finally forced out of bounds into the Purdue sideline after a scramble of 6 yards. Gooden brought the pressure on him. Beckford chased him out of bounds.
We just talked a little bit about Jake Stoneburner. It looks like that play was designed to get the football in his hands. Braxton Miller was looking at him from the minute he got the football, and he'd gone through his progression. Chris Fields, number 80, came wide open across the other side of the formation. But again, his ability to make some people miss, he's still able to make a positive play out of a breakdown in the pass offense.
Jordan Hall is a tailback here on 2nd and short. Hall to the 40 and knifes his way forward. He will be short of the first down. 3rd and short. Albert Evans on the tackle. Well, when you talk about the Ohio State passing game, Jim Bowman mentioned that last week they called for 20 passes, which is a decent number for this Ohio State offense. But because Miller is so mobile, he only threw 11. Sometimes he said it was timing. Sometimes they were naked bootlegs. Sometimes blitzes. The bottom line is he held the ball too long a number of times. Hall, Holman, Boren. And this is Hall straight ahead. Joe Holland tripped him up. Looks like he got it on 3rd and short, and the officials say he did. First down, Ohio State.
Yeah, very close right there. Good defense by Purdue trying to get inside. You see a couple of guys stunning up front, and Holland comes around the corner to make a tackle. They didn't even bring the sticks out, so feeling like they had it at least by a couple of feet. But that's what Ohio State needed to do. They had to pick up another first down to try to sustain a drive.
Dry erase board gets the signals into Braxton Miller. Herron stood up at the line of scrimmage, no gain. You think if it's a Herron carry, the dry erase board would just say 1. Tell him what's coming, because Indiana couldn't stop it.
Give the ball to 1 or put it in Boom's hands. You get a look at the dry erase board right there, how they're signaling in plays to the young quarterback and the rest of that Ohio State offense. They usually got some type of code, like Braxton Miller's got number 100 on his wristband, which tells him which play to call in the huddle.
Herron was also checking his wristband. 2nd and 10. To throw, quick out off the hands of his fullback Zach Boren, and that will leave 3rd and 10.
Those type of plays are common to see from a young quarterback. A lot of times when they do get a pass play called, they get excited. And when it comes excitement, comes a high throw. A lot of times you'll see that from a young quarterback. The ball will just be a little bit too high and out of the hands of his receivers.
Buckeyes went no huddle quickly to the ball, and now they get the snap off, and the blitz is coming. Pressure, got it away. 1st down to Hall, and Jordan Hall tries to spring it. Jordan Hall is in. Touchdown, Ohio State. 38-yard catch and run against the blitz, and the Buckeyes are on the board.
Lisa talked a little bit about Jordan Hall at the top of the telecast on the importance of getting him back in the ball game. They felt deep at the running back position with Boom Herron, with Carlos Hyde, but Jordan Hall just gives them another athletic guy that they can get in the ball game. And you saw right there, Braxton Miller was able to get the ball over the top of Kawan Short in the hands of Jordan Hall.
So on that touchdown drive, 2 big receptions by a pair of Ohio State running backs. Herron took one for 19. Hall finishes it up with 38 yards into the teeth of the blitz. And Jordan Hall and the Buckeyes make Purdue pay for the pressure. 10-7 Boilermakers. 10-7 Purdue.
Sometimes the game of football can be a game of inches. I want you to watch Kawan Short right here, who's lined up over Jack Muhort. He's actually going to spy on Braxton Miller and just see if he can't try to get his hands on the football. And watch, right at the last second, that ball just barely gets over the top of his hands and into the hands of Jordan Hall. And you can see just a couple of inches, and he gets a fingertip on that ball. Instead, Jordan Hall gets in for the touchdown.
Why was Hall unaccounted for?
Well, you saw a couple of the safeties blitz for the Boilermakers, and I think there was a breakdown in coverage. Somebody has got to pick him up out of the backfield. When you take a risk like that and bring your safeties trying to make a play, you've got to have everybody accounted for.
Here's Akeem Hunt. Hunt takes a hit but stays on his feet, cuts it up, and now he has a very fine return, but a flag comes in the tail end. Lost his helmet on the way down. A return of 18 yards for Akeem Hunt. It's also a flag all the way back in the 31-yard line. So one on the return and likely one on Ohio State for being offsides in the kickoff.
Definitely a matchup you'll want to keep your eye on. This Purdue kickoff return team has been one of the best in the conference, especially behind Raheem Mostert, who was the Big Ten Freshman of the Week last week.
We have offsiding fouls on the play. Offsides, kicking team, number 2. We have a hold, receiving team, number 36. Those penalties offset, and we will re-kick.
So they'll try it again. You mentioned Raheem Mostert and that return team for Purdue. They were fantastic against Wisconsin, but then again, they got plenty of opportunities against Wisconsin. Mostert averaged 41 yards a return last week against Wisconsin. His 206 return yards along with that average were both school records. And he was one bright spot in that Purdue loss on the road, a 62-17 final.
When you get him and Akeem Hunt back there, number 11, and it's a pretty scary duo of returners. Both those guys are speedsters, and Mostert seems to have come along a little bit more throughout the season. You saw that he was a freshman. I think he's now starting to realize what life is like as a college football player. He's settling down a little bit, and he's become very effective on the kickoff return unit.
And the best return man in the nation. A booming kick that time all the way to the back of the end zone for Mostert. No chance for a return. Time now for today's Verizon Key Connection. And last week everybody was going full bore for Ohio State. 3 100-yard rushers for the first time in a game since 1989. and 346 rush yards as a team for the first time in 15 years. Easy to remember how that 96 team got so many ground yards running behind Orlando Pace.
Yeah, not a bad offensive tackle right there. I mean, I played against him when I was in college, and he was one of the best I've seen. And I would even put him in the category as athlete. He was one of the best athletes for his size that I've ever seen.
Turbush wants to throw, and they get it out to Antavian Edison, and he's got room. And once again, Purdue's success has come outside the hash marks.
I think they've realized after watching film that it's not going to be effective for them to try to run in between the tackles. We talked about the defensive front for Ohio State. They're very good. They're very active. But I like the game plan here by Gary Nord, the offensive coordinator for Purdue, and trying to get his guys the ball out on the perimeter, both in the run game and the pass game.
Nickel defense still on the field for Ohio State with Tyler Moeller. Turbush steps out of pressure and tries to dump it underneath. That one nearly picked off and broken up by Travis Howard. So let me ask you, if a team continually is able to get to the perimeter and get to the edge, how can you force them to try and run inside the tackle?
Well, you're going to always have to get your guys out on the perimeter. So your linebackers and your nickel backs are going to have to play a lot more stout over the top of the receivers to try to shut it down. You've got to force them to go back inside, because if Purdue continues to have success by throwing 5-yard outs and 7-yard slant routes, they're going to continue to do it the entire game.
Travis Howard is playing a very physical cornerback today for Ohio State. He's been all over a couple of Purdue receivers. On second down, here's a screen, and they work it inside again. Moeller popped it free, but it's recovered by Justin Siller. And it turns into a gain of almost 5 yards on the play for Purdue.
Well, we just talked about that's the way that you get him to slow down a little bit, is get Moeller in there to make some plays. And you see him knock the football out of the hands of Justin Siller there. Purdue survives a little bit of a scare. They could have turned the ball over to Ohio State in their own territory, but yet they get another chance here on third down. Will they dial up another play on the outside to try to see if they can take advantage of what Ohio State's been giving them?
Up front, Simon is out of the game. Solomon Thomas takes his spot for Ohio State. 3rd and 6. Play clock ran out, I believe.
False start. Offense, number 62. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
So Simon was still in the game, but they're getting Thomas some time inside. Simon was standing up that time, and that's something the coaches told us last week they want to do, is stand John Simon up. Why?
Well, because he's so athletic, and they want him to be able to get an eye on what's happening in the backfield right away. So just the fact that he's able to stand up and get a couple of feet taller than what he would be in his 3-point stance, he's able to read what's happening in the backfield. Because he's so experienced, he can figure out what's happening quickly between the quarterback and running back.
Ryan Shazier drops into coverage. Turbush over the middle. Incomplete. Pass was intended for Edison. Christian Bryant had that one hit off of his arm, I believe.
And we've seen the second time now for Purdue having false starts up front, which is putting them in a difficult situation. That ball was just behind Antavian Edison right there. If Turbush leads his quarterback a little bit, he's got a chance to bring that one in and pick up a first down.
So after a hot start, Purdue has to punt it away again, and punting to Jordan Hall, who averages 6.5 yards per punt return. Drop snap, plenty of time to recover, and it turns into a great punt with hang time, and Hall can only take a fair catch at the 36. 34-yard punt that time from Cody Webster. Gorgeous day here in Indiana. Ohio State will have the ball when we return.
Dave Revson in our Chicago studios. Iowa coming back against Michigan State. It is James Vandenberg to C.J. Fedorowicz. First touchdown catch of his career, but Michigan State driving again, up 14-7.
All right, thanks, Dave. Here in West Lafayette, Purdue leads Ohio State 10-7. Purdue first 2 possession, 21 plays and 10 points. Since then, 9 plays and 2 punts. And Braxton Miller, that quarterback for the Buckeyes. Play action. Wants to throw. Now he's going to try to run. Flag on the play, and Miller gets taken down once again, and it's Kawan Short along with Ryan Russell. And Ohio State may get flagged for holding on this play as well.
holding, offense, number 73. That penalty is declined. It results in second down.
Here's Underwood right here, is guilty of the penalty at the right tackle position. We mentioned he's filling in there for an injured J.B. Shugarts, and he's going against one of the best defensive players, I'll say, because Kawan Short will line up at both tackle and end positions. And he's going to have to bring his lunch pail every single time, because Kawan Short, as I mentioned, in my opinion, is one of the best defensive tackles we have in the conference.
Second and long, here's Boom Herron, and Herron gets wrestled to the ground at the 36-yard line by Chris Carlino. Shugarts, as you mentioned, suffered a knee injury. Reportedly is dressed today. The senior from Klein, Texas, said to be day to day with that knee injury. They lose a lot of experience at right tackle, going senior to freshman for Underwood. 3rd and 11. Miller has time. Deep ball, man coverage, incomplete. Josh Johnson was locked up with T.Y. Williams. We've seen Purdue lean a lot on their cornerbacks this season with man coverage or man free.
Well, and you think they're going to do it throughout this ball game because they know Ohio State's going to run the football, so they're going to have to bring an extra person down into the box, usually a safety, which is going to leave your corners on the outside one-on-one. But they like that matchup because they've got experienced corners and you've got inexperienced receivers for Ohio State.
Ohio State goes 3 and out for the 4th time today. 3 straight possessions. First 3 possessions ended in 3 and out. This is another boomer with the win from Buchanan, and loose ball. Grave Sandy covers it up at the 12-yard line. Well, there are a lot of floor burns last night, and guys getting after loose balls in the renovated Mackey Arena. The athletic department put some great money into redoing the inside of Venerable Mackey Arena, which first opened in the late 60s, and honored that 1967 team, another Final Four team and a runner-up, and former coaches and players which were in the building last night, along with Brian Cardinal, who, by the way, is an intern in the athletic department this year. And Robert Marv is now in at quarterback for Purdue. Marv taking over for Turbush. And straight ahead to the 15-yard line, a pickup of 3. And why Marv now?
Well, this is the right time because the Purdue offense has slowed down a little bit, and the coaches say they'd like to just play this by feel. They'd like to get him in the second quarter, but if Turbush is playing well, they've got to ride the tempo of the game. But Purdue's offense has slowed down a little bit on their last couple of drives. Made it an easy decision to get Marv in the ballgame.
And now they're going backwards. Penetration up front from Michael Bennett, the talented freshman. And forward progress will mark it at the original line of scrimmage. That will leave 2nd and 10. Okay, quickly. So you saw Robbie Hummel in Purdue last night. We saw Jared Sullinger in Ohio State in practice last week. What do you think of the 2 hoops teams?
I think that Ohio State is going to have the inside track at winning this conference because of they got Jared Sullinger and Aaron Kraft being able to push the tempo. But it was nice to see Robbie Hummel back on the court last night. Of course, had some bad luck with injuries over the last couple of years, and he looked fired up to be back on the hardwood.
Took down Mark Montgomery's squad out of Northern Illinois, the former Tom Izzo assistant. Marv to throw on 3rd down. He lets it go complete for a 1st down. O.J. Ross with another 1st down grab. Mark Montgomery, Izzo's former assistant, said after the game, "I thought the NBA lockout was over." His team outmanned by the Boilers.
Getting to see a little bit of the arm of Robert Marv right there. That's what he brings to this football team, is he's got a cannon for an arm. So some of the more difficult throws for many quarterbacks is much easier for him.
Sprint draw, but instead of going up the middle, Bolden tried to get outside, and Travis Howard just got him by a shoelace. And a gain of 1 for Bolden that time.
You talked a little bit about Travis Howard, Tom, and he's kind of that next guy for Ohio State that they feel like has got the ability to be that lockdown corner. He's got great speed. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. And you talk about some of the guys that they've had. Of course, Chimdi Chekwa was the last one. He can be the next guy for the Buckeyes.
Pass complete to Justin Siller as Marv, the Miami transfer, goes to the air again. A pickup of 7. Howard is also a South Floridian. Howard, a redshirt junior out of Dr. Kropp High School in Miami. Marv started his career at Miami under Randy Shannon and lost his starting job to Ja'Cory Harris. Ran into some off-field trouble, ended up at Purdue. He showed up and immediately suffered an injury. As Shavers carries it for a first down. It's been a long and windy road for Robert Marve, the senior from Tampa, Florida.
You know, we talked with Coach Nord a few weeks back when we did the Boilermakers, and it was so impressive to me to hear him say that he felt that if Robert Marve wouldn't have had those injuries throughout his career, he very well could have been a first-round draft pick. He felt he was that good.
Crank cranks it up past the 45-yard line, and they thought he was that good coming out of high school in Tampa, but not only off the field issues, but he was in a car wreck in his time at Miami. Never really got going with the Hurricanes and thought he had found a great home here at Purdue before a knee injury sidelined him. Then he banged up his knee to start the season this year as well. Crank again takes it, and he takes it for a first down. Michael Bennett with the tackle. Robert Marve has certainly been a nice change of pace on this possession for Purdue after the offense had stalled under Turbush on the previous two drives.
Well, and it's a big confidence booster that his running backs like Akeem Shavers was able to help him out and get a tough first down. But this is exactly what you're looking for when he gets into the game, is you need to let him get a couple of first downs, because he's got the ability to move the offense down the field if he gets that confidence early.
Ninth play of the drive, and Tavian Edison up the middle. No whistle. He stays on his feet, but there is a flag back at the 49-yard line. Heads up play by Edison, who spun his way out of a tackle and kept the play alive.
Holding, offense, number 62. 10-yard penalty from the flag. Repeat, first down.
Nick Mondek now, you see him right here, ends up, he got a penalty on the last drive for a false start. Now he ends up getting the penalty right here. So you can see the holding with the right arm, just holding the guy back, and he's not able to get off of his block. You've got to make sure you don't commit these penalties and stay mentally smart. There again, you can see him holding right there. We're going the wrong direction.
Trying to block Garrett Goebel up front, who had 7 tackles in the win against Indiana last week. Ohio State brings that front four. Marv gets it away, nearly picked off. Ryan Shazier tried to jump the route, but a flag as Marv took a pop. That was a dangerous play from Marv's perspective. Shazier, a guy they want to get on the field a lot more. But the Buckeyes couldn't hold off of Marv.
You can see Hankins right here ends up getting through, and he's the one that's going to get the penalty. He's working hard. He's trying to get the pressure. Excuse me, he was on the other side. You can see that ball was clearly out of Marv's hands right there, coming on the inside move. You just got to try to lay off as best you can and not commit that penalty.
They bring a man in motion, and now a reverse, and it ends up in the hands of O.J. Ross. Marv tried to throw a block. Ross changes direction again, and he's got nowhere to go. He'll end up losing 5 yards, and that'll set up 2nd and long for Purdue. I mentioned this earlier when Purdue tried to get Ohio State to jump off sides. It seems like they feel like they have to trick Ohio State to win today.
Well, they're definitely trying a few things to see if they can't get Ohio State on their heels. But watch what Robert Marve right here with that huge block. I mean, a lot of times you see a quarterback just getting away, but he runs into it, the 300-pound Adam Bellamy, and makes a nice block.
And now Shavers takes it straight ahead, and he gashes Ohio State for a first down. Christian Bryant with the tackle.
Nice
16-yard gain.
Excuse me, Tom. Nice job here by Purdue, recovering from that penalty where they got themselves backed up in a difficult situation. Of course, the Hankins penalty helped them out, but you can see Robert Marve's helping this team engineer a drive, now getting into scoring territory for Purdue.
11 plays on this drive already for Purdue and Robert Marve. Now the screen, Siller. And Siller stays on his feet, still going. Justin Siller inside the 10. What a run through traffic for the senior from Detroit. Adam Bellamy finally caught up with him after a gain of 25.
A little uncharacteristic for the Ohio State defense. A number of missed tackles we've seen on this drive, and you'll see about 2 or 3 of them right here. It gives Siller a lot of credit for keeping those legs moving and running through some tackles of defensive line players that are generally 280, 300 pounds.
First and goal, Purdue. 3:22 to go before the break. Ohio State uses a timeout to talk about it. Back to Ross 8 after this. Ten to 7, Purdue leads Ohio State. Buckeyes use a timeout here to try and figure out Robert Marv and the Boilermakers. Marv off the bench for the second quarter drive, and he's been perfect, 4 for 4 for 58 yards through the air. Already 12 plays in this drive. And now Justin Siller is in at quarterback to take this snap. And on the zone read, he hands it off. Touchdown, Purdue, Ralph Bolden. Boilermakers have done just enough to keep this offense rolling. 13th career touchdown for the junior from Folkestone, Georgia. It was a low snap, but the hold was clean from Webster after he got it up, and Wiggs able to punch it through. A 13-play drive to extend the Purdue advantage, answering the Ohio State score. 15-yard penalty helped the Boilermakers keep it alive, and Bolden finishes it off. .319 to go in the second quarter. 17 to 7. Purdue in front. The drive under Robert Marv. 13-play drive, 9 rushes, 4 passes, and assisted by the 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. And now Travis Howard gets some work from the masseuse, trying to stay loose on the calves. Injuries have been an issue for Ohio State on the offensive side, and they may be biting the defense here this afternoon as well. More on that in a moment. Wiggs to put it in the air for Purdue. Hyde towards the sideline and brings it past the 20. Full head of steam, spins at the 25 up to the 28. And now for our Nissan Heisman history. 1966, Bob Greasy, quarterback, kicker, and punter, 2-time All-American, but he was a runner-up to Florida's Steve Spurrier. Then Leroy Keys played both ways in the NFL for the Eagles. He finished as a runner-up to USC's O.J. Simpson. Third time in 4 years. This time Mike Phipps emerged from the shadows of both Greasy and Keys. Unanimous All-American in 1969. College Football Hall of Fame inductee in 2006. Another runner-up to Steve Owens of Oklahoma. Herron brought down, and he is down as he nurses that right ankle, and Dan Herron slow to get to his feet for Ohio State. Will Lucas had the stop. Herron went down holding his right ankle, and he will try to jog off to the Ohio State sideline.
Well, you know how important he's been to this offense since he's got back into the lineup, and you'll see right at the end here, just trying to get him down on the ground, ends up getting his feet tied up a little bit, so they'll check on him while Jordan Hall comes into the ball game.
Out of the eye now after a gain of 1. Miller wants to throw, and he sets up and goes out of the backfield to Jordan Hall, and that'll set up third down.
Talked about the importance of Dan Herron in the ball game. 3 straight games over 100 yards. And that's the reason why they've been able to dominate time of possession, because he's been able to, along with Carlos Hyde and Braxton Miller, pick up those extra first downs, which we've seen be a struggle for Ohio State throughout this first half.
Third down for Ohio State. Stoneburner in motion. Miller to throw. Pressured, dropped, another sack for Purdue. This time it's Bruce Gaston. Third sack of the game for Purdue, the 9th sack in the last 6 quarters for Ohio State.
Well, so often Quan Short gets all the press up front because of what he does, but Bruce Gaston is also 6'2", 300 pounds, and he's got the ability to condense the pocket like he did on that play right there. He was able to get in the backfield and force another Buckeye punt.
Buckeyes will punt it away with 1:38 to go before the half. 17-7, Purdue leads Ohio State. 1:38 to go in the first half, and the Buckeyes to punt it away. Been an adventure back there for Waynell Gravesandy, trying to return punts today off the foot of the Ray Guy Award candidate Ben Buchanan. Buchanan has the wind behind him. Come after it, and they nearly got it. Wow, what an effort by Purdue. Gravesandy takes the long punt and has no chance for a return. Flag on the play as Gravesandy was brought down. 45-yard punt, 2-yard return. E.J. Johnson nearly got to that one off the foot of Buchanan.
You can almost anticipate that was coming. Purdue was going to try to make a big play towards the end of the first half to see if they could get another possession on offense, and E.J. Johnson nearly came up with the blocked punt.
Holding, receiving team, 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Watch E.J. Johnson come in, number 7 right there, just at the last second, gets bumped off of his course just barely, but you can see if he's able to just get around the outside and get his left hand. Of course, Buchanan is a right-footed punter, which was that might have been just enough to get the ball away from E.J. Johnson.
We saw the injuries to the offensive side for Ohio State. Now it seems like somebody on the defensive end is banged up. Let's check in with Lisa Byington down on the sideline.
Yeah, Tom, linebacker Andrew Sweat is going to be reevaluated here at the half. The training staff telling me over on the Ohio State side that he suffered some pain in his shoulder after taking a shot. He's feeling a little bit woozy, so they're going to reevaluate him at the half. I've been watching Boom Herron too walk up and down the sideline, trying to walk off that ankle, and I can say that he's limping less than when he came out.
And Travis Howard, who's getting attention on the sideline, is back in the game for Ohio State. That is cornerback spot. 1:20 to go in the second. Purdue likely doesn't want to push it here as the Buckeyes use a timeout hoping to get the ball back. Remember when we had them at Penn State, they tried to push it to try to get into field goal territory with the wind for Carson Wiggs, now against the wind, and they threw a costly pick.
Yeah, Robert Marv was the quarterback at the time in that Penn State game, and they felt like they could try to take a couple of opportunities, a couple of shots to get down the field, and they threw a pick which really changed the momentum of that ball game. So you're right, Tom, I would anticipate them running the football a couple of times to go into the half up 10 points.
Don't forget the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report is coming your way with Dave and the guys. Scores and highlights from all of today's games. 17-7 here as Purdue aims for an upset, and some interested folks watching as well from Penn State and Wisconsin. There's a very real chance this one comes down to the final week of the season as the Leaders Division race continues to heat up. Luke Fickell insists he's not talking about the race. In fact, he doesn't even look at the standings. He admitted to us yesterday that if you were to ask me who was in first place in our division, I'd have to guess. I have no idea. Second down. Edison would be wise to try and stay inbounds. He has nowhere to go, bottled up at the 10-yard line. John Simon first man to him for Ohio State, a loss of 3. And Ohio State's going to use another timeout here, 1:10 remaining. So the Buckeyes trying to get the ball back before the half ends. Back in a moment. Purdue leads Ohio State 17-7. Robert Marv in for the second straight series for Purdue. But on this one, they've been going backwards. Now facing third and long. Buckeyes are out of timeouts now. Don't forget, Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report coming away with scores and highlights from today's games, including an update from University Park, Pennsylvania, where today Penn State returns to action as they take on Nebraska in a key Big Ten race. So 3rd and 11. And they will indeed run it. And they've got room. Shavers takes it forward. He'll be short of the first down. Pardon me, Ralph Bolden with the carry. Pickup of 7. Christian Bryant came up from his safety spot for the stop. So Ohio State will get the ball back with 25 or so seconds remaining. Marv is going to wait as Purdue has one timeout remaining and wait for this play clock to get all the way down to 2 or 1 before they stop it. It'll be about 26, 27 seconds left for Ohio State leading into the punt. So on 4th and 3, Purdue uses its final timeout of the first half. And the Buckeyes will get it back, looking for Jordan Hall on the return. This coming Friday, we have a special presentation of BTN's Icon Series as we look at the legendary Woody Hayes. Big Ten Icons, the coaches, presented by Discover. Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, only on BTN.
Woody Hayes, obviously one of the best coaches that we've ever seen in this conference, and I wasn't around and able to see what he was able to do, but my head coach Glenn Mason, obviously a lot of experience, and his tutelage comes from his days with Woody Hayes.
Punter went down, no flag, and the ball will roll to a stop, and the clock will tick down to 16 seconds. Ohio State will have a chance. They brought pressure on Cody Webster, but no flag. Webster's foot ended up on his own man, one of the upbacks, and that's why Webster hit the turf. Good job by the Buckeyes to stay away from him. A 31-yard punt. 16 seconds left. No timeouts for Ohio State. And Braxton Miller will at least get a chance to take a couple of shots. Boom Herron left with an ankle injury on the previous possession, and he has his helmet on but not on the field right now for Ohio State. Devin Smith had the game winner against Wisconsin. We haven't called his name today. And a long pass to the sideline, out of bounds, complete to Smith for an Ohio State first down. That was a 40-yard reception with 20 seconds left for the win against Wisconsin, and that could come in handy down the stretch, especially with a three-way tie with Penn State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. In that situation, we'd likely eliminate Penn State with their record against the Buckeyes and the Badgers. It would come down to a head-to-head for the division title, and Ohio State would earn the berth in the first ever Big Ten title game. Jordan Hall is the running back. A lot of football to be played before we end up there, however, because right now Ohio State trails by 10. Miller has to run, and Miller will try to get out of bounds, and he'll buy time for one last play and just a little bit closer for a shot for the end zone for Ohio State.
It looked like Braxton had his eye on the game clock, making sure that he had to get out of bounds to at least give the kickers an opportunity to come on the field to attempt what looks to be about a 50-yard field goal.
The long for Drew Basil, the sophomore from Chillicothe, Ohio, is 47. He's hit 12 straight, but in his career only 4 of 8 outside of 40. 50-yard attempt with the win for Basil. And he got plenty of leg into it, but he pushes it wide right. So the first half comes to an end with Purdue trying to hold on to that momentum, and the Buckeyes looking to stay in a division race. Luke Fickell and Ohio State struggled early against a resurgent Purdue offense, and the Boilermakers hit the locker room with a 17-7 lead. Stay tuned. The Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report is coming your way on BTN. Purdue with the lead at the half, 17-7. It's more than just hope as Purdue looks for its second straight home upset over the Buckeyes, and now the Purdue head coach is standing by with Lisa Byington.
Well, Coach, you've done something that few have done so far this year, and that's shut down the Ohio State run game. How have you done it?
Well, our team's excited. We're playing with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. I told you that we're morning people. We do well when we get off to a fast start. We started fast in the first half and got after them, and we got to start fast in the second half. We can't sit on this thing like we're hatching an egg. We got to come out and play our butts off in the second half.
Go into that a little bit more, and what was your main message as you left your football team on the verge of a second straight upset here at home?
Well, it's huge because we're in a good situation right now where we have the quarterback moving around in the pocket. We're close to getting some sacks. I believe we'll get some sacks in the second half. If we can stay after the quarterback, we'll get some takeaways. If those two things happen, we're going to win the football game.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
And they may be helped out by some Ohio State injuries. Moments ago, Andrew Sweat, who reportedly got his bell rung in the first half, was dizzily making his way off the field with some help from some Ohio State training staff. Sweat back to the locker room after coming out and trying to give it a run at halftime warm-ups.
That's a big loss for Ohio State. Came into the game as the leading tackler, very active on that second level. So you'll probably see guys like Ryan Shazier, a freshman, come in and get some extended snaps here in the second half.
Remember, the Buckeyes have played with two linebackers for the majority of snaps over the last few weeks, with Tyler Moeller on as a nickelback and sometimes outside linebacker. See if that's an issue going forward. Mostert and Hunt back to return the second half kickoff. Kicking with the wind once again, and that one's out of the back of the end zone. So Purdue got off to a red hot start in this game behind the quarterback play of Caleb Turbush. And Turbush is back out to start the third quarter after two straight Robert Marve possessions. Field goal after 10 plays in their opening drive, then a touchdown. A couple of punts. Marve came in, led them on a 13-play, 88-yard drive. Obviously, Purdue does well when they can string together long drives.
Well, that was the difference so far in the ball game, because when Marve came in, they were able to get that touchdown to put them up by 10 points. Otherwise, they would have went into the half with only a 3-point lead.
And they start the half with Justin Siller taking a snap, and the zone read out of the Wildcat, and Akeem Shavers gets forward for just 1 yard. You know, we talked about this a little bit in the first half, where Danny Hope and Purdue have shown that they feel like they need to take some chances and do some things differently to win this game today. That being said, when they've gone basic, they've had a lot of success.
They really have. We talked about it in the first half, their ability to go out on the perimeter with guys like Shavers and Bolden. And then Turbush, when he was in early on in the game, especially in the first quarter, he was very accurate passing the football, and they were to go up and down the field.
This is Shavers once again as he starts the second half instead of Bolden, and no gain for Shavers. Turbush 10 of 16 for 88 yards and a score through the air. Robert Marve a perfect 4 for 4 in his first drive, and Ralph Bolden 58 yards and a touchdown on the ground for the junior from Folkestone, Georgia.
And Danny Hope talked about his team playing with a lot of emotion there in the first half, and they've really got to bring it here in the second half. The third quarter has been their nemesis throughout the season, been outscored there by their opponents 59-29 in the third quarter, so they've really got to get off to a fast start here coming out of the locker room.
Turbush on third and long, incomplete. Siller, the intended receiver. Broby with the coverage, and as you mentioned, number 10 Ryan Shazier on the field in place of Andrew Sweat at linebacker for Ohio State. So 4th and 9 coming up. It's the first 3 and out of the game for Purdue. Ohio State went 3 and out on each of their first 3 possessions. Jordan Hall, Pennsylvania native, back to return. Buckeyes nearly got to Webster in the second quarter. End over end kick takes a Purdue hop. And Ohio State, after forcing their first 3 and out of the day, will have good field position after a 37-yard punt. Well, the Buckeyes went 3 and out, a grand total of 11 net yards on their first 3 possessions before an 8-play, 68-yard drive, resulting in the lone score of the game.
We talked about it right there at halftime, the fact that they struggled to move the ball in the first half, especially by running. They only had 18 yards on 17 carries in the first half. They'll be looking to make sure they can get that going here early on in the second.
Jordan Hall in to take the Wildcat snap, and he takes it forward for an Ohio State first down and more. Hall takes it all the way inside the 35-yard line before Ricardo Allen brings him down.
Excellent patience right there by Jordan Hall. Looked like it was not much of a hole in there early on, but he had the patience to wait, allow the offensive line to open the hole. And then you can just see, as soon as Zach Bourne makes the block, he just slides through and he gets into Purdue territory.
Hall to take the snap again. The quarterback Braxton Miller, top of the formation, split out wide. Again, straight ahead, Hall trying to work on this Purdue front four. Beckford and Short bring down the Ohio State running back. Dan Herron has his helmet on. He's anxious to get in the game for Ohio State, but they hold him out here on second down and instead bring in Carlos Hyde. So Herron seems healthy as they spy him on the Ohio State sideline, helmet on and ready to go, but hasn't taken a snap here to start the second half. Herron had some big third quarter runs against Wisconsin and Indiana. His first touch of the third quarter against Illinois was a touchdown, but on the sidelines here. Toss to Hyde, and Carlos Hyde had 100 yards plus against Indiana last week. A stiff arm helps him get out of bounds against Allen inside the 20. Let's check in once again with Lisa.
The time we saw Boom Herron kind of itching to get out there, I walked past him on the sideline. He was kind of running back and forth. I said, "Are you doing okay?" And he shook his head. He shook his head and he said, "Yeah, I'm fine." So maybe it's just a little precautionary here without the coaches.
Quick snap again. Hyde got popped at the line of scrimmage. Will Lucas with the stop, a gain of 1. In the first half, Braxton Miller 4 for 8, 79 yards to score. Herron only 2 yards a rush today, 16 yards total. In Hall, the leading receiver with 2 grabs and 45 yards.
Lisa was just talking about Boom Herron. Something to keep your eye on throughout the rest of the ball game is how many snaps does he get here in the second half, and once he comes in, is he as effective as he's been the last few weeks? I think that's part of the reason why we've seen Jordan Hall early on here in the third quarter.
Miller out of the pistol gets chased back towards the line of scrimmage, and Kawan Short takes him down for no gain. That will bring up 3rd and 10. You know, my only confusion about Herron and leaving him on the sideline to start the half, he got his ankle turned over in the first half. Come out for warm-ups in the second. Obviously his body was as warm as it was going to be when the second half started because he'd been out there running around, and now it's going to cool off and may even stiffen up on him on the sideline.
Well, you can see him over there bouncing around a little bit, just trying to stay as loose as he can, waiting for the coaching staff to feel comfortable with by pulling the trigger and getting him back out on the field.
3rd and 10. Miller 4 of 8 today, and Purdue didn't like what they saw, using a timeout here. First time out of the second half for the Boilermakers. Ohio State driving with Hyde and Hall back after this. Next Saturday at noon, Iowa comes to West Lafayette to take on Purdue. We'll be right back here. Michigan State battles Indiana in the battle for the old brass spittoon. Or you'll see Minnesota at Northwestern. Pre-game coverage starts at 10:30 Eastern. Presented by the United States Marine Corps. Only on BTN. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to find the game in your area. Beautiful look at the Wabash River. 3rd and 10 for Ohio State. Miller pump fakes, wants to run, quarterback draw. Here he goes. Braxton Miller first down, and he spins his way forward all the way down to the 6-yard line. Joe Holland tripped him up, a pickup of 13.
First time we've seen Ohio State have some success, especially with this designed quarterback draw. This was a quarterback run the entire way, but Purdue's been doing a good job of clogging up all the gaps throughout the ball game up until that play right there. So give Ohio State credit for getting on the same page with their blocking assignments up front to let the Buckeyes into scoring territory.
Change up front. Muhort moved to right tackle. Corey Lindsley is in at right guard. The freshman Underwood on the bench here in the second half. Hyde cuts back behind the line, and he's immediately hit by Albert Evans. A loss of 1 that time for Hyde. Lucas and Evans came up from his safety spot. And so Underwood, who had a tough time in the first half, replaced here in the second.
Well, we've seen a number of different guys get in on the offensive front there for Ohio State, but you're seeing some pressure by Kawan Short, again, number 93, causing havoc up front, getting those offensive linemen in the backfield, which caused Carlos Hyde to bounce his run a little bit.
2nd and goal. Miller, option. changes direction and wins the race to the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. A little ad-lib for Braxton Miller and a 7-yard touchdown.
Again, Purdue's been doing a pretty good job in the ball game of keeping him contained, keeping him in between the tackles. And this is what we've seen the last few weeks out of Braxton Miller after he settled down a little bit, is his ability to get outside and make people miss. And once he broke contain, he basically walked into the end zone.
Ohio State defense gave him a chance by forcing the 3 and out. Good field position. Braxton Miller and company conclude their opening drive of the second half with a touchdown. A quarterback draw brought off a big chunk, and then option keeper as Miller changes directions and finds the end zone. 3-point game here in the third. Two years ago in their upset here at Ross-Ade Stadium, Ohio State was outscored 14-0 in the third quarter. So a good start for the Buckeyes. That last drive, 8 carries, 58 yards. More than doubling their ground total from the first half. Basil's been booming them today with the wind at his back, and he's got the win here again in the third quarter. This one a little bit shorter. And from the 3, it's Mostert. He's been fantastic this season. And he takes it all the way past the 25 and carries the pile with him thanks to a shove or two. Nearly to the 30. Today's Alumni Spotlight brought to you by Case IH. Features Ohio State's Greg Krenzel. 24-3 as a starter at Ohio State. Won the 2002 national title. Forever remembered for this 4th down pass in 02. Late in the game against Purdue. Brent Musburger exclaimed, "Holy Buckeye." I exclaimed "Holy Buckeye" when I realized that was just the 5th pass of the game for Krenzel, who graduated with a degree in molecular genetics and a 3.75 GPA, also the Dratty Award winner. That's the academic Heisman. And I think a lot of Ohio State fans, Rack, look at this offense this year and wonder about the passing game. Oh my, almost picked off right in the numbers to C.J. Barnett. Edison was the intended receiver. Missed opportunity for Ohio State.
And sometimes that ball just becomes so big, coming right at you. I mean, this came right into C.J. Barnett's hands, and he could have probably still been running. I don't think he anticipated that ball going through the hands.
Flag on the play on the toss sweep. No gain on 2nd and 10. But it's easy to complain about this Ohio State offense and the lack of passing game. But Craig Krenzel in that last second win here threw it 5 times that game, if my numbers are right.
Well, we've already seen this year as well that you can win football games by not throwing it so often, as long as you've got great defense and a really good running game.
Illegal shift, offense, 2 men moving at the snap. That penalty's declined. It results in 3rd down.
So they decline it after the no gain. Here's the missed pick from Barnett.
You can see he was coming up. He was trying to come up to make the tackle. Didn't expect that ball to end up going through his hands. You always got to be ready. That ball could have been in the Ohio State hands right now, moving in their own territory to score.
A lot of movement up front for Ohio State. 3rd and 10. They bring 4. Turbush over the middle. Edison's got it. Ducked out of the way of a Storm Klein hit. That got him 4 more and a 1st down. Orion Johnson finally brought him down, a pickup of 17.
Talk about weaving that one in a small hole right there. Turbush ends up throwing this right in between 2 defenders. Shazier comes through, number 10, and he barely misses it. And you mentioned Storm Klein was right there as well. Slid right through and ended up picking up the 1st down.
Shavers has nowhere to go. No gain. Let's check in with Lisa once again.
Tom, an update on linebacker Andrew Sweat. I got confirmation that he is done for the day. He is out with a concussion. You know, the doctors here on the Ohio State side said that he had some pain in his shoulder. He was feeling woozy, and we saw him walk off, and he really struggled doing that, but he is out with a concussion.
Well, rubber legs for Sweat. Certainly hope he can get back sooner rather than later for the Buckeyes. They have a very important slate to close out the season. O.J. Ross with a pickup of 5. So Ryan Shazier is a guy that Ohio State really wanted to get on the field more often. They didn't want to do it, obviously, as a result of a Sweat injury, but Why are they so high on Shazier?
Well, it's because he's got athletic ability. I mean, this guy is fast. I mean, we talked about the speed of the Ohio State defense, and he is the epitome of that. I mean, you talk about a guy that can run east and west, north and south. And Jim Haycock had mentioned last week they tried to get him in the ball game, but it just didn't work out right. And as you mentioned, he's going to be getting a lot more snaps this afternoon now with the injury to Andrew Sweat.
Sweat shows blitz from the outside. He's coming to Turbush's blind side, and he got him. Loose football. Ohio State at the bottom of the pile as Shazier came from the blind side on Turbush. Purdue comes away with a football and able to keep the drive alive just in time. Bring out the punt team.
Well, here's Shazier right here on the outside, and Jim Haycock had talked about his rushing ability to come around the corner. You can see him just keep wheeling around the outside. He was able to get his hands on Turbush to deflect that pass. You can see right here at the last second, he gets his left arm in on the throwing arm of Caleb Turbush.
And they almost get the punt. No flag on the play. Again, Webster ended up on his backside. Once again, ran into his blocking back, who was pushed backwards by Jonathan Hankins. 25-yard punt. Ohio State stands up. Now can the offense answer again? Now for the peak antifreeze QB comparison. Turbush, one of 2 quarterbacks used today by Purdue. He's 12 of 19 for 110. Miller finally getting it done with his legs in that last drive.
Yeah, you don't want to look at this and say, oh, Caleb Turbush is throwing a lot better than Braxton Miller, because that's not the recipe right now for Ohio State. It's both of those. It's his throwing and his running ability that's starting to heat up here in the third quarter.
Boom Herron has returned to the field for Ohio State. First carry of the second half. Nets him 3 yards. Joe Gilliam with the tackle for Purdue. 2nd and 7. 3-point Purdue lead. Midway through the third quarter here at Ross-Ade Stadium, where Purdue has won 3 of its last 5 against Ohio State. Herron again hesitated for a moment and then surged forward to carry it for a first down. Dwayne Beckford wrapped him up. Aaron wasn't lying when he told Lisa he was just fine.
Yeah, encouraging right here for Ohio State. The fact that Boom Herron gets back into the ball game, and we talked a little bit about this last week. He just brings confidence to this offense. He knows that he can make a play with the ball in his hands, and the rest of the team, the offensive line, Zach Boren, the quarterback, know that he's got the ability to make something happen every time he gets the ball in his hands.
They split out Miller again. This is Herron taking the snap. And Herron, nice cutback at the line of scrimmage. And Miller's getting into it at the top of the formation. Logan Link had the stop. Miller, guarded by Josh Johnson, lost his helmet in a scuffle with the Purdue defensive back.
It's a lot of times that's why they don't end up putting a quarterback out on the perimeter, because anytime a defensive back sees a quarterback, he's going to jar him. You can see just at the top of the screen right at the beginning he was up there, but Josh Johnson, any chance he's got the ability to get physical with a quarterback, he's going to take it.
He ripped Braxton Miller's helmet right off of him. 2nd and 7. Miller back under center. Rolls, fires, deep, incomplete. Devin Smith had his man beat, working on Johnson, but was overthrown.
Here you can see right here going against Josh Johnson, and right when he comes off the ball, you can see that Johnson trying to get physical with him, but Braxton Miller's not backing down from anybody. Just got to be careful sometimes when you put your quarterback out on the perimeter like that.
You like that out of your quarterback? He loses his hat and he still goes after the guy?
Hey, feisty quarterback, you can tell he's a competitor. He's not letting anybody take advantage of him.
3rd and 7. He can get the last word with an Ohio State comeback. Ryan Russell ran on the field last moment for Purdue on 3rd down, and whistle stopped the play, and Miller gets a hug from Russell.
Delay a game offense, number 5, 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
So that'll make it 3rd and long now.
Well, we've seen throughout this ball game that Ohio State's been struggling on 3rd down, period. And then you add on top of it the fact that it's 3rd and 12 right now. This is not what Ohio State is set up for right now. They just don't have that ability and the comfort level and the experience to drop back on a 3rd and long situation and be able to sort out the defense to try to move the chains.
Miller 4 of 9, 79 yards through the air. And another flag. And Ohio State moved.
Ball start. Offense. Number 75. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
That's senior Mike Adams.
You can see Mike Adams right here. Moves just a little bit too fast, and he knows that he's going to get pressure from that Purdue defense because it's a 3rd and long situation, so he was trying to get just a little bit of a head start to get in the proper position.
They run Lucas on late. 3rd and 17. Miller deep down the sideline, and this one too much air underneath it. It should be noted those last 2 deep balls from Braxton Miller thrown with the wind at his back, and that helped carry those well over the heads of his receivers.
Yeah, he's taking a shot. He's trying to pick up a big play with his wide receivers. Threw the football well, just had way too much juice on it. And that time, Purdue, knowing that they had low chances of picking up the 1st down, just rushed forward, dropped back into coverage, and now they'll end up getting the ball back from a punt.
4th and 17. Ohio State scored on its first possession of the 2nd half. Now Buchanan kicks it away to Gravesandy, and he immediately gets swarmed, and a flag at the tail end. 43-yard punt, 3-yard return.
It's a smart play there by Gravesandy to run up and make that catch before the ball hits the ground. A lot of times with that type of punt, it's going to hit and kick in their own direction. Unfortunately, the penalty is going to go against them, but he saves a lot of field position by coming up and catching that ball before it bounces.
Holding. Receiving team. Number 8. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
You'll see right there, number 8, Raheem Mostert, right in the middle of the screen. You can see him grabbing jersey right there. Easy call for the official to make.
So Mostert has been a non-factor today. Caleb Turbush back at center. Back at quarterback for Purdue. Robert Marve. And 2 good drives to close the 2nd quarter for the Boilermakers. Over the middle, caught on the slant. Crosby right. And the ball came loose, taken away by Shazier. Shazier finds the loose ball, and Ohio State has possession at the 31-yard line.
Textbook defense right there. Once you get the receiver secured, you get everybody else coming in to get the ball out, but it looked like his knee was down right there. Crosby Wright, the tight end, looked like his knee was down.
The ruling on the field is a catch followed by a fumble. The previous play is under further review.
It was Shazier who ripped it away and recovered it. But as soon as that knee comes down for Crosby Wright, the play should be dead. And up in the booth, Jim Augustine is taking a long look at this one. I mean, this is a game changer if Ohio State gets the takeaway.
Yeah, they've absolutely got to take another look, but you can see the ball is secured and his knee is down right there. So I think that this one's going to get overturned and Purdue will retain possession of this football.
First catch of the day for Crosby Wright.
You can see right there, Shazier comes in at the end after his knee hits the ground is where he starts to strip the football out. So he's down right there before Shazier even gets to him.
Well, it's easy to see, even if this play gets reversed, why the Ohio State defensive staff loves Ryan Shazier. We saw he forced the fumble on the blindside hit on Caleb Turbush, blitzing in from a linebacker spot, and then the speed to catch up with the play and perhaps force a fumble on the completion.
That's such an active player, making plays all over the field, rushing the quarterback, dropping back into coverage, and having the mindset to go in there at the end and get the strip. I mean, that's a lot of times you end up seeing a junior or senior doing that because younger guys are just going in to try to make a play, but he comes in with the wherewithal to strip that football out, try to force a fumble and get the ball back for the offense.
It may seem that they're taking a while to figure this one out. If they did indeed rule his knee down, then they have to find the yard marker. where Wright's knee did come down, because right now the ball is marked after where it was picked up by Shazier, and it went forward for another 5 or 6 yards after the strip.
After further review, the receiver caught the ball, got one knee down before the ball came loose. Purdue's ball, 1st and 10 at the 32-yard line on the left hash.
13-yard.
Please reset the game clock to 5:08. 5:08.
So yardage and time they had to figure out. 13-yard completion from Turbush to Wright. The slant has seemingly worked a few times today for Purdue.
Well, it really has, and they ended up doing that off of play action. As you saw, Turbush had a little bit of a play fake that always brings the linebackers up a little bit, or at least makes them hesitate, which generally opens up that hole behind them. And I would anticipate we'll see that play again here throughout the rest of the ball game.
It's a Purdue first down. Luke Fickell on the Ohio State sideline, and that sideline erupted when they thought they had the takeaway. A ton of energy for Ohio State, who has struggled on the road this season, just 1-2. Lost on the road to Miami. That knocked them out of the AP top 25 for the first time in nearly 7 years. 103 weeks had been ranked before their loss on the road near South Beach. 3-yard gain on first down for Ralph Bolden. Storm Klein in to make the stop.
We talked a lot about Shazier. Storm Klein's another guy that will have to step up his play a little bit now that Andrew Sweat's not going to be coming back in the ball game. Really physical, stout linebacker, likes to come downhill. He's going to have to factor in, try to get some pressure on the quarterback, get some stuffs in the hole on the running backs.
This is Crank, the fullback, who gets wrestled to the ground after a gain of 4. Adam Bellamy with the tackle, and he leaves the field for Ohio State, as does Klein and Moeller. So Sabino and Shazier are the linebackers now. Shazier comes in the blitz again from the blind side, delivers a pop, and that will draw a flag. The pass was incomplete. Howard was there to back it up, but Shazier got to Turbush a split second too late, and that will be the second big penalty against Ohio State on a late hit. There's another flag down at the 45.
We saw the late hit on the quarterback earlier in the game from Jonathan Hankins. It looks like they'll get Shazier again. But I'm wondering if they're going to attack also a pass interference on the backside on Travis Howard.
Mentioned in the first half that Howard is a very physical cornerback, and there were a couple of times today where he was very close to drawing a foul. Drawing a flag, I should say. So the personal foul on the late hit from Shazier.
We have multiple fouls on the play against the defense. Holding, defense, number 7. That penalty's declined. Roughing the passer, number 10, defense. That's a 15-yard penalty that results in an automatic first down.
Roughing the passer gets him 15.
We talked about a couple of big penalties here by Ohio State. You see it come right at the end again. Shazier coming in. Ball was clearly out of the hands of Turbush. Got to do your best to lay off right there. Going to have to play smart here in the second half. Anytime you go on the road, you got to keep yourself away from big penalties like that allow Purdue to sustain drives and continue marching down the field.
Shazier got an immediate coaching moment from Mike Vrabel over on the Ohio State sideline. Turbush, straight drop, deep ball, has a man wide open. First down Purdue. Justin Siller got behind Tyler Moeller. 31-yard gain.
Looked like Tyler Moeller had great coverage. Looks like there's another flag down on the field. Moeller had great coverage, but just lost his footing towards the end of the play.
Ineligible man downfield. Offense, number 86 was covered up, went downfield on a pass beyond the line. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Costly mistake with the formation for Purdue.
For those that don't understand what that penalty is, when they say he was covered up, that means a wide receiver was on the same side of the line of scrimmage and he was on the line of scrimmage. In college, you can do that, but that receiver, the tight end, cannot go out for a pass route. You can see right here at the bottom of the screen is where he's lined up on the line of scrimmage, but inside the tight end, he ended up going off the line, and he's got to stay in if that outside receiver is on the line of scrimmage.
So 1st and 15, Turbush trying to throw again, and that was dangerous. Bryant on the cover, just hauled in, and it's hauled in by Gabe Holmes, a sophomore from Miramar, Florida, for a pickup of 13.
Again, good coverage right there by Christian Bryant, but give Gabe Holmes credit for going up and making what I call a 50-50 catch. When you got the defensive back right there, he goes up, catches it at its high point, and brings it down.
So Caleb Turbush and Purdue marching here, 2nd and 3. After the big grab by the tight end. And Bolden brought down by Sabino, and Klein, no gain.
Again, Purdue doing a good job of sustaining this drive, running a lot of time off the clock and marching downfield with the opportunity to put the ball in the end zone. That's something that they haven't got a whole lot of this year, is the ability to put long drives together and march down the field and cap it off with points.
Caleb Turbush, 14 of 21, 135 yards for the Purdue passing game. And he wants to throw again. Rolls out, complete. Purdue 1st down. Justin Siller with the grab. Travis Howard with the coverage. Danny Hope told us yesterday when talking about his quarterback Caleb Turbush that sometimes it can be hard to see improvement when your quarterback week in and week out is going against Big Ten defenses. He thought he took a bit of a step back last week against Wisconsin, but overall Caleb Turbush has gotten better and better each week, even though you may not see those results. And nowhere to run, straight up the middle for Ralph Bolden, and he certainly looks comfortable on this drive throwing the football.
Well, again, you talked about it earlier in the game, Tom, the fact that coming into this season he was the 3rd string quarterback, and then right at the last week of training camp he got vaulted up and ended up being the starter. So a guy that was getting very limited reps to start training camp ended up getting a lot of reps, and he was learning as the season has gone on, and you can see that he's gotten a lot more comfortable as we're getting towards the end of the football season.
Play action. They've rolled him right a number of times in this drive, and that ball is incomplete. Intended receiver was Crosby Wright, coming across the defense. Ryan Shazier with the coverage for Ohio State, who's back in the game.
Well, Lisa was talking with Danny Hope at halftime, and he said that we've been rolling our quarterbacks out a little bit, and we've seen a lot on this drive of them trying to get Caleb Turbush out on the perimeter, try to open it up for him so he's got a free look to be able to see his wide receivers. And again, that one, a ball that should have been caught.
And Ohio State without one of their best cornerbacks right now. Dominic Clark is in for Travis Howard. Bottom of the screen. Head-to-head with Justin Siller. Turbush on 3rd down. Has time. Now steps up on the run, and he finds the Ohio State sideline. Mike Vrabel was the only open man, and that will bring up 4th and 10.
Excellent coverage right there by the Buckeyes. The reason why Turbush didn't have anything is everybody was covered up in the secondary by Ohio State. Huge play for them, the Buckeyes, to be able to get that stop and force a punt here by Purdue.
That's a 3-time Super Bowl champ, Mike Vrabel. Played up front as a linebacker along with a pretty good defensive lineman at that time, Luke Fickell. That timeout used by Ohio State. So 4th and 10 forthcoming for Purdue. Back in just a moment. (17-14). Purdue leads by 3. They have a great field goal kicker and Carson Wiggs, who before the game stretched out the leg and hit a 54-yarder, but this was with the wind at his back, and now they're going into the wind, and so they will punt it away. This one looked ugly off the foot. It might be a great finish for Purdue, and it is. Downed by Logan Link at the 6-yard line. 28-yard punt. Great job by Wiggs, who was brought in not to attempt a long field goal, but to punt it away.
Well, that's what Carson Wiggs does a lot for this team, is he comes in those inside the 20, inside the 10 opportunities and hits that new style of punt where the punter puts the nose down and he tries to kick the bottom of the football to get it going end over end. That way when it hits the turf it stops, or it actually comes back to give his coverage team a chance to down it.
Kind of like you and your sandwich.
With that title is Pro V1 ball.
Dan Herron is in to take the direct snap. Braxton Miller lined up as a wide receiver in the right side. And Herron made the first man miss, lowers his shoulder to take it to the 10, and there is a flag. Comes in after the gain of 3 by Herron. This one's going against Ohio State.
Holding, offense, number 88. Penalties half the distance to the goal. We will repeat, first down.
That's Reed Fragel. Let me ask you this. In hindsight, with Ohio State using multiple running backs in a wildcat formation taking direct snap, isn't Braxton Miller in many ways just as good in that situation if you're going to run a draw play?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say, but when you get a guy like Boom Herron and the ball comes directly into his hands, I don't have a problem with that either. I know where you're going with it, Tom, that he's got the ability, Braxton Miller does, to make a play. But if you get the opportunity to put a direct snap in Boom Herron's hands, I don't have any problems with that.
And so Herron carries it over the right side to try to get back to the original line of scrimmage. That will leave 2nd and 9. As the third quarter winds to a close. Purdue exactly where they wanted to be. Trying to hold on to the momentum. And bidding for their 2nd straight home upset against the Buckeyes. Boom Herron has never gotten on track today. 12 carries, 33 yards. They're going to get a play off, it looks like, before the quarter comes to an end. Herron hit in the backfield. Scrambles forward for perhaps a yard. Beckford was in there, clean it up. Logan Link, first contact. 3 quarters in the books. 1 remaining as Purdue leads Ohio State 17-14. Boilermakers trying to engineer their 2nd straight upset of the Buckeyes. Otis, my man, shout the third quarter tradition as we go to the 4th here at Ross-Age Stadium. And Ohio State, the lone touchdown in the third quarter. We move to the 4th. The win, it should be noted, will belong with Purdue here in the 4th quarter. Braxton Miller had trouble throwing with the wind on deep balls in the 3rd. Jordan Hall is in the backfield next to the freshman quarterback. Purdue shows blitz, they back off. Miller steps up, wants a deep ball, lets it go, gets crushed, and that ball is incomplete. Coverage downfield by Logan Link. Boy, Braxton Miller took a hit the moment he got rid of that football. And on 3rd and long, the Purdue defense stands.
He's been off the mark when he's tried to go deep so far this afternoon. Again, trying to take a shot down the field and overthrows his receiver. I think the ball got caught up a little bit in the wind and ended up pushing it out towards the left. But he wasn't able to deliver on 3rd and long.
So 4th and 8. Purdue had a key near punt block against Illinois in their home win a few weeks ago. They don't come after this one. And into the wind. A wobbler. Gravesandy waves everybody off. Purdue will have fantastic field position at the 44-yard line after a 35-yard punt. Time to check in with Dave Revson back in our Chicago studio for a Discover Card game break.
To game in Evanston, Dan Persa, career high 372 passing yards. The short toss there to Kane Coulter, 28-0 Northwestern over Rice.
Thanks, Dave. Kane Coulter can do a little bit of everything. And now Robert Marv returns at quarterback for Purdue. I didn't think Purdue would outrush Ohio State today. Handoff. Plenty of room. First down carry for Ralph Bolden. Pickup of 13.
Again, looks like Robert Marv is going to continue to get this up-tempo offense going. He wants to make sure that Ohio State's not substituting on defense and see if they can continue to have the rhythm that they had in the first half.
Here's a pitch going the opposite way. Bradley Roby comes up to make the stop. Pickup of 5, though, for Ralph Bolden. Purdue not only trying to nurse his 3-point lead, but going up tempo, looking to add to it. Now Bolden splits out. Robert Marv will have Reggie Pegram next to him in the backfield. First carry for Pegram. He is bottled up by Garrett Goebel and company. And nowhere to go will bring up third. And about 4.
So I was anticipating to see a little bit of play action right there. I thought that would have been a great time for Robert Marv to show a little bit of that running game that they've used the past couple of plays and pull it out, get on the perimeter and try to pick out one of his receivers. And now they've pretty much brought up a passing down. You've got to anticipate Ohio State knowing that Purdue has got to go through the air.
Marv has time, lets it go deep, and overthrows his would-be receiver Justin Siller, and that'll bring up 4th down. We saw Carson Wiggs kill a punt against the Ohio State defense a moment ago, and they're going to bring Wiggs on to attempt this field goal here. 12 of 19 in his career outside of 40 yards, and with the wind on his back, this will be a 44-yard attempt for Carson Wiggs. Got it. Nice and easy for Carson Wiggs. And he makes it a 6-point lead for Purdue. 13:06 to go in the 4th quarter. Wiggs has been a great weapon all season for the Boilermakers. And now he tries to kick Purdue to an upset win at home against Ohio State. Another Carson Wiggs field goal, and he will kick off as Purdue leads Ohio State by 6 here in the 4th quarter. Kicking with the wind. This one might go over the goalpost, you thought.
He very well could get this one 80 yards and go right through the uprights. It's under it a little bit.
And a chance for an Ohio State return, and Jordan Hall takes it straight ahead. Now tries to work outside and takes it out to the 20. Nice return for Jordan Hall. Now it's time for the Sprint Unlimited update.
So far it's been a lot of offense for the Purdue Boilermakers, right around 300 yards of total offense on the afternoon. Braxton Miller and the Buckeyes continue to fight, though, staying in this ball game, just down by 6 points, but they've been able to engineer some drives here in the second half. Ralph Golden got into the end zone earlier on in the ball game. Again, the athleticism of Braxton Miller keep Ohio State within reach.
Buckeyes today have ran the ball for 95 yards. Toss to Heron. Got a man in front to block for him, but gets submarine for a loss of a couple by Joe Holland. I want to credit the Purdue defense, but aside from what they've done right, how come Ohio State hasn't been able to get the ground game going?
Well, we talked a little bit about J.B. Shugarts not being in the ball game at the right tackle position, so they've had to shuffle a couple of guys around up front. And I just wonder if they haven't been getting things quite communicated like they have the past few weeks. But like you mentioned, Tom, you got to give the Purdue defense a lot of credit, especially Joe Holland flying around, making plays all over the defense.
Heron and Bourne in the backfield behind Braxton Miller. He wants to throw. Here comes a weak side blitz. Miller steps up and steps right into a sack. Go on short. There's one other reason Purdue can sell out against the run. Ohio State's passing game has been anemic all season.
Well, Quan Short right there gets into the backfield for his 3rd sack in the ball game. And you know, when you go and watch him on film, when he sells out every time, when he goes 100%, there's very few people that have the ability to block him. Sometimes he doesn't give quite 100%, but when he goes at the best of his ability, there's very few offensive linemen that can slow him down.
Quarterback draw. You can see this one coming. Miller bounces it on 3rd and 15, and he gets forward for an Ohio State first down. Pickup of 17 on 3rd and long. And the Indiana fans know exactly what that play looks like. Miller tearing up yardage with his feet.
Well, Jim Bowman, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, knows that Braxton Miller has the ability to be able to pick up the first down on a 3rd and long situation. But I think that was more of a safe call, that if he didn't make it, they would just go ahead and punt it back. but credit Braxton Miller with a little stiff arm to be able to get just enough yards to pick up the first down.
Jordan Hall takes a direct snap. He has nowhere to go. Talking about the Ohio State passing game just a moment ago. Last week, 55 yards through the air. Today, 79 for Braxton Miller. Ohio State is third worst in the nation in fewest passing yards per game in the FBS, behind only option teams Army and Navy. They average 115 yards through the air per game. There's a lot of different reasons for that. Obviously, a freshman quarterback for the most part, young receivers and injured receivers. DeVere Posey still has yet to return for Ohio State. And now second down. Miller has plenty of time. And on the run, caught, great hands. And an Ohio State first down by T.Y. Williams, a redshirt freshman out of East Cleveland, Ohio, in Shaw High School.
Well, we mentioned his name in the first half as one of those receivers that was going to have to step up with Philly Brown being out of the lineup. And you mentioned there's not a whole lot of passes that come out of this Ohio State offense. So when you do have the opportunity, you've got to make it count. And T.Y. Williams able to catch that ball with his hands and move the chains.
Hall at quarterback again. Miller split out to the bottom, and Hall dragged down by Dwayne Beckford. No gain. And that will leave 2nd and 10. I suppose my question before about why not run more quarterback draws with Braxton Miller is that in that situation you essentially don't have to worry. You only have to worry about 10 guys in the running back. Ohio State has not shown that out of the Wildcat their running back will ever throw the football.
Right, so when you're Purdue, anytime you get those guys back there, you can almost anticipate that you're going to get a running play.
Miller scrambles on 2nd and long, lets it go, had a man incomplete. Working the sideline was Devin Smith, and he was open against his zone coverage. Albert Evans came on the safety blitz.
Well, once again presents a 3rd and long opportunity for Ohio State. You wonder, does Jim Bowman go back to the quarterback draw that he had a few plays back where Braxton Miller picked up the first down, or do they have to go through the air? And I've talked a little bit about Jake Stoneburner. Got to become a factor at some point throughout this ball game. We haven't really seen him a whole lot. The tipped pass early on in the ball game, but will this be the play where he comes and makes a difference?
Stoneburner had 4 touchdowns the first 2 weeks. He's had 4 catches in the 7 games since. Miller takes off, has a chance, makes a man miss, and Braxton Miller again carries it for a first down.
So Jim Bowman again elects to go with the quarterback draw to get everybody downfield blocking. And once again, Braxton Miller makes people miss. Again, design quarterback draw right here. You can see Quan Short comes scot-free, thinks he's going to throw it. So he stops trying to get his hands up, and Miller just slides right around, makes Joe Holland miss, and picks up yet another first down.
Miller 136 total yards today. His legs starting to get going. That yardage total accounts for sacks as well. And this is Carlos Hyde, sophomore from Naples, Florida, takes it up to the 39-yard line. Hyde originally from Cincinnati. His mom sent him to Florida to live with his grandma through high school, and then he ended up at Fork Union Military Academy, where the great Eddie George attended before moving on to Ohio State stardom. Guys like Vinny Testaverde, Plaxico Burress, Dexter Coakley all came out of Fork Union. 2nd and 7. Miller steps back, lets it go, incomplete. Fields, the man he was looking for. 8:01 to go in the 4th. Ohio State trails by 6.
You can see a little bit of a half roll again, just trying to make sure that Braxton Miller's got an open window to throw the football. And how many times have we seen throughout the ball game that he's thrown high to his receivers, overthrown footballs on a couple of those shot plays, and then some of these on the sidelines, he's just been way too high, and he hasn't even given his receivers an opportunity to make a play.
Converted 3rd and 15, 3rd and 10. Both on Braxton Miller's legs. 28 yards rushing on this drive. Receiver jumped. Slot receiver Chris Fields flinched.
Looked like Kawan Short up front too made contact with the offensive line. I think that's what there's 2 different flags on I think they're going to have Fields outside and Kawan short for making contact with the offensive line up front. Officials are trying to decipher which penalty will be enforced.
False start. Number 80, offense. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
There, Chris Fields will be up here at the top of your screen. He ends up just moving just a little bit, and the official that's up, you can see right there that back leg, he got a little bit of a jump. The defensive line have the ability to come back and get reset before the snap. At any time an offensive player moves, it's going to be an easy flag for the officials.
And so obviously they determined the short did not make contact with the offensive line. Luke Fickell pleading his case. 3rd and 12. Miller wants to throw on this 3rd and long. A wobbler, incomplete. We know what Braxton Miller's limitations are, and we've seen it throughout the game today. We also know what his strengths are.
Yep.
And that's from the waist down.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you talk about his limitations, it's obviously trying to convert on 3rd and long situations. And so what that does is that's the importance on them on 1st and 2nd down, that they have got to be successful, because you can't make him get into a 3rd and long situation and expect him to hit a 20-yard comeback route along the sidelines.
Ben Buchanan, one of the best in the nation at killing punts inside the 10, and Graves Sandy rushes up to take it at the 15. 20-14 Purdue. Big Ten Network football is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And by Verizon, America's largest and most reliable wireless network. Purdue University Clock Tower, and time's ticking out on Ohio State. Buckeyes last came to Ross-Ade Stadium with Terrell Pryor at quarterback. Their only loss that season coming in was to number 3 USC. Terrell Pryor had a rough day. His 7th-ranked Buckeyes turned it over 5 times. Pryor threw 2 picks and fumbled twice. Joey Elliott threw for 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Aaron Valentin. Keith Smith also had a huge game receiving for Purdue. It snapped Ohio State's 16-game conference road game win streak and Purdue's first win over a ranked team since 2003. Buckeyes have lost 3 of 5 here at West Lafayette.
This one's looked a little bit different. Haven't gotten the turnovers on defense for the Boilermakers, but they got some timely stops on defense, and Turbush and Marv have combined well to put points on the board.
Trying to set the screen to Edison. He changes direction and has the sideline. Robert Marv back in for quarterback. Injured Buckeye player. Around the league today, Michigan State leading Iowa 34-21. And how about this for division race? Nebraska trying to hand Penn State its first Big Ten loss of the season. It's 17-7. And with the Nebraska win, if they hold on, boy, that'll drive a Buckeye fan crazy, because this was an opportunity to pick up a game on Penn State in the leaders division.
Absolutely. That's why it's shaping up early on, that you just can't predict what's going to happen and who's going to end up in the Big Ten championship, because there's a lot of football left. You can see that Penn State's struggling right now. We don't know exactly what's going to happen on the other side with Michigan State, although they're looking good right now. So this one's probably going to come down to the last weekend of the regular season.
Jonathan Hankins is the injured Buckeye. Shaken up on that first down play. Dan Herron left the game with an injury earlier. In addition to Ohio State on the offensive side, Philly Brown didn't make the trip, but defensively, Andrew Sweat was lost to a concussion and went back to the locker room before the second half even started. Now it's Hankins who's banged up. And so Hankins slowly to his feet will be helped off to the Ohio State sideline. How can Ohio State get back into this game? When I asked that question, obviously they need a defensive stop, but also they're going to need to find some success on offense, and it just hasn't been there.
Well, absolutely. They've got to stay out of 2nd and 3rd and long situations, because we've seen, especially here in the second half, they haven't had any success. And You talked about getting a stop on defense, but how about forcing a fumble, getting an interception? That not only will get the ball back to them, but that's going to get that offense energized when they come back on the field to put the ball into the end zone.
Remember, the Buckeyes have missed opportunities when it comes to the turnover game today. One interception was dropped. Another would-be strip and fumble was ruled that the tight end was down after the reception. Been one of the best in the nation over the last few years in takeaways. 2nd and 5. Robert Marve at quarterback. Edison. Now a handoff to Bolden. And Bolden gets met by C.J. Barnett and John Simon. Gain of 1.
You know, we talked about a couple of the injuries. Andrew Sweat not coming back into the ball game. Jonathan Hankins just goes out. I mean, those are probably two of the most important guys on this defense, along with Johnny Simon. So interesting to see how it'll go throughout the rest of the ball game without having those guys in there.
O.J. Ross trying to get out of there. Nowhere to go. Bradley Roby fought through Edison's block to take out Ross. What a great job by the Ohio State cornerback.
I mean, you talk about a redshirt freshman coming into his own early on. I mean, this is not easy when you got a wide receiver, and he basically just gets lower. He wins the low man wins battle, pushes Edison back, and he's able to get his hands on the ball carrier and force the punt team on the field. Excellent play there by Bradley Roby.
And so Purdue forced to punt it away. Buckeyes come after it in a low line drive. Handled at the 30 by Hall. And 3 Boilers immediately converge on Hall. They missed the block. 51-yard punt, 4-yard return. Hankins getting some help on the Ohio State sideline. It's up to their offense now. 6:15 to go. 6-point lead for Purdue. Purdue hoping to keep the home cooking going against Minnesota here at home. They had a tremendous game, 24 points in the first quarter. 10 different receivers had a catch. They rushed for 217. Then against Illinois, special teams gave them great field position. They hold off a late Illini rally and hold on for a 7-point win. Undefeated at home in Big Ten play and trying to stretch that to another victory here against Ohio State. Boom Herron, left side. He's got room, and Herron takes it to midfield and all the way down to the 45-yard line. It should be noted, while Ohio State has struggled throwing the ball and their offense hasn't gotten on track, Dan Herron is a guy who can get you back in the game and get you the lead lickety-split.
Well, we talked about it. You can see Zach Bourne, number 44. Watch him come around the corner and get that key block right there, which gets Dan Herron into the open field. You talk about the big plays that he brings this offense. That was a huge play to get Ohio State inside of Purdue territory.
Herron now taking the snap. He will take it straight ahead behind Bourne, and now stretched it a little bit, and he picks up 3 yards on the first down carry. Josh Johnson and Gerald Gooden to make the stop. Herron now passes Raymond Harris, now 10th in Ohio State history in career rushing yards, 2,663. Miller throws on the run, hits his receiver, complete for an Ohio State first down. Evan Spencer gets taken out by Ricardo Allen. Now this offense suddenly humming thanks to getting the ball going on the ground first.
Rod, you can see right there the importance of just hitting 1 or 2 passes here and there in a drive. Those are the balls that Braxton Miller's been overthrowing throughout the entire ball game. He brings his sights down a little bit, puts it right on the hands of Evan Spencer, and moves the chains again for the Buckeyes.
1st and 10, Ohio State trying to come back in this thing, trailing by 6. Herron wrapped up after a strong run and a gain of a few. I'd like to welcome those of you who've been watching the non-conference matchup as Northwestern gets a home win against Rice. And a blowout win at home for Pat Fitzgerald's squad. Tom Hart, Derek Rackley, Lisa Byington here in West Lafayette. Purdue looking for its 2nd straight home upset against Ohio State. 2 years ago, the Buckeyes were ranked 7th in the country. They left with a loss. Here, it's been a struggle for Ohio State to get their offense going, specifically the passing game. But on this drive, Herron starting to move some piles with his legs. And here's Boom Herron again, and he's got room left side. Herron takes it to the 21-yard line. 3rd and 1, gain of 6. Link and Beckford combined to bring him down.
Well, right before the snap, you saw both Stormburner and Fraggle come over to the left-hand side of their formation, and then they bring their guard, Corey Lindsley, around the corner as well. So they're bringing all the big, hefty guys around to help create a void for their running backs.
No empty backs, only one wide receiver. They're going big on this drive. Hall is now in a tailback. 3rd and 1. Boren, the fullback. Boren leads the way. Hall needed to get to the 20, and that's the second time he's converted on a 3rd and short by just stretching out over the line.
This one's going to be close here, Tom. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up bringing the chains out to measure this one. It looks like the ball is just ahead of the 20-yard line. The chains look like they come right on that line, but it looks like they might have about a football length enough to get the first down.
If the chains are accurate, all they needed to do was touch the 20 to pick up the first down. And they got it by 2 stripes.
Tough run here by Jordan Hall. Anytime you got to get a chance to follow your fullback. Nice job by Purdue coming downhill right there. Dwayne Beckford meets Zach Boren right in the hole, but just enough, as we mentioned, about the length of a football, gives Ohio State a fresh set of downs.
Another Wildcat snap for Hall. To the right side and spins forward to create more yardage. Good job yards after contact. Logan Link brings him down, a gain of 8 for Jordan Hall, back healthy again after missing the Indiana game with an ankle injury.
Seeing a renewed Ohio State offense, knowing that this is an important drive for them to put the ball in the end zone, seems like they've had the best success that they've had throughout the entire ball game on this drive.
And the right side of the line, Muhort and Lindsley working well together as they started the second half instead of the freshman Underwood. 2nd and 2. And now they flip-flop, and Muhort goes over to the left side. A lot of movement up front. Muhort now at left tackle. Flag on the play. Heron inside the 10, inside to the 5. As we wait for the penalty, what does Ohio State gain by flopping Muhort?
Well, what do they gain is they get Mike Adams, their best tackle, coming over to the right side.
Illegal formation, 5 men in the backfield, offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat, 2nd down.
I mean, you could almost guess and put your money on the fact that they were going to run that ball to the right side. As soon as they switched, Mike Adams, number 75, brought him over to the right side, and they brought the tight ends over there as well. But a lot of times when you switch those guys that you normally don't do, you don't see Ohio State flipping their tackles like some teams will do. They didn't get set properly and ended up committing the penalty.
For example, Illinois is a team that flips its offensive line every play, going strong and weak, not right and left. But a rarity for Ohio State as they try to look for some cohesion up front, once again playing without JB Shoeguards. Second and 7. Miller showed option, stays on his feet, gets taken down at the 20-yard line. No gain. Josh Johnson in on run support for Purdue. 2 minutes and counting in the 4th.
Excuse me, Tom. They also got Gerald Gooden, number 2, their defensive end, with a nice job of keeping contained. You'll see him at the top of your screen. Stays where he's at. Doesn't chase Braxton Miller. Braxton actually runs right to him. A lot of times you get a defensive end that starts chasing the play, which opens things up around the outside. But him along with Josh Johnson able to make the play.
Clock stops with 1:55 to go. Ohio State has 2 timeouts remaining. There's an injured Purdue player, and that is Ryan Russell. And so Ohio State catches a break here as Russell goes down, and they stop the clock to tend to the injury. Now, on 3rd and 8, the clock isn't a major issue, but if Ohio State is able to convert, then it might come into play. Purdue very thin at defensive end after losing Robert Macy a couple of weeks ago. Adam Brockman backs up Gooden at the other side, and Brockman will come in to spell the redshirt freshman Russell. Third and 8. They will start the clock before the snap. Stoneburner flops sides. Miller, quarterback draw. Miller hit, and he goes down to bring up 4th down. 1:37 to go and rolling. 2 timeouts remaining. Is this 4-down territory?
Absolutely 4-down territory. So I think that's the reason why you got the quarterback draw, liking their chances that Braxton Miller is going to make a positive play. But now they've got one of the biggest plays they're going to have throughout the entire ball game. Well, they've got to be able to pick up a 1st down to keep this drive alive and keep their hopes of winning this ball game alive.
Jordan Hall is the running back. They like to use him out of the backfield as a receiver. Miller, plenty of time, dancing, hurdles his own man. Off balance, chucks it, got it! Ohio State touchdown! That was Hall.
Just an unbelievable job of Braxton Miller being able to continue that football play to give himself a chance to get rid of the ball. Just when Purdue thought they had a chance to get him sacked into the backfield, he gets rid of the ball and puts it into the hands of Jordan Hall.
Basil's perfect on extra points this year for the lead. Blocked off the crossbar. Are you kidding me? Purdue blocked a kick for a win to open the season. They got great penetration up front, and instead of taking the lead, Ohio State and Purdue are tied.
That's the importance of special teams right there. You never take a football play off. Give Purdue a lot of credit for continuing to bring it up front. See, Bruce Gaston, number 90, is the one that slipped right in between the long snapper and Ohio State's right guard. Got just skinny enough to be able to get that right hand up. Watch number 90 gets laterally, and he's the one that got his right hand on the football. And now you got a tie game with just under a minute to play.
And it came down to the turf in the Purdue end zone. Tied at 20, 55 ticks left on the clock. Braxton Miller's athleticism made the play for Hall for the touchdown to tie it. And then Gaston slipped through. This was a touchdown pass and a nice Edwin Moses hurdle over his All-American center to keep the play alive.
You can see he was almost sacked 2 or 3 times on that play. Josh Johnson felt like he had pretty good coverage. And I know it didn't look pretty, but that was probably the best looking pass that Braxton Miller's had throughout the day to give his team the chance to tie it up.
How do you figure this one? Ohio State still alive in the leaders division race for the inaugural Big Ten title game, trying to catch up with a Penn State team which hadn't lost this season, but Penn State has its hands full at home with Nebraska today. A line drive that didn't clear more than 3 yards high, taken by Mostert, and Mostert gives him good field position all the way out to the 38-yard line. Take another look at this unbelievable play by Braxton Miller to tie the game.
By his importance as far as his athletic ability, you saw earlier in the play, he hops over a Purdue and Ohio State defender just at the last second, delivers this ball up high. Now, if that ball's underthrown, he doesn't get it, and then Gaston just skinnies through at 305 pounds and gets his right hand on the football, and we got a tie game with just 50 seconds left.
2 timeouts remain for Purdue. Robert Marve has taken over at quarterback in place of Caleb Turbush as they turn to the passing game. 5 wide receivers, lets it go complete for a first down for Purdue, and Ralph Bolden into Ohio State territory. They have one of the best kickers in the nation, and they have the wind at their back. 15-yard catch, clock stops for the first down. One more first down and they're in field goal range for Wiggs. Ohio State uses a timeout.
Ohio State calls their second timeout. This is a 30-second timeout.
It is conceivable that Carson Wiggs, who hit a 55-yarder pregame today, could hit one from 57. with the wind behind them, which means that they would need to only get the ball to the 40-yard line. What a weapon for Purdue.
Well, and this goes back to pregame at the coin flip when you decide who takes which end, and now you get Purdue in the fourth quarter with the wind at their back. The wind has not changed throughout the ball game, and you've got Carson Wiggs, who's got the biggest leg in the entire conference, holds the seven longest field goals in Purdue history. This is right up his alley. You give him any shot at a field goal inside of 55 yards, and you've got an opportunity to win.
Hit a 66-yarder against Minnesota last year. Or pardon me, Wiggs is long, 53 this year, but he hit a long one to open the season last year, 59. He's got 5 over 50 and 2 55 plus. Out of the timeout, Marv. Deep ball into coverage, picked off. Orion Johnson playing center field, and he takes it away. Wiggs won't get a chance.
Robert Marv just put a little bit too much air underneath this football. He felt like his receiver was going to be one-on-one, so he tried to put some air underneath it, but Orion Johnson comes over from the safety position and just runs right underneath. You can see Orion Johnson, number 19, playing over the top, and he just acts like a receiver and runs right into it. Ball's overthrown. Huge play there for the Buckeyes defense.
That's a chance you don't have to take when you have Carson Wiggs.
No, you really don't. I mean, you want to just try to pick up 5-10 yards. You can run a couple of plays. They still had 2 timeouts left. Interesting that they took that chance.
Herron taken down at the 15-yard line. Ryan Russell with the tackle. We're staring at overtime here from Ross-Ade Stadium. And Ohio State will let the clock run out. Overtime upcoming, and Luke Fickell wants to get his guys together to talk about this situation. Danny Hope said his squad was a morning team. They play well with these early starts. Well, shadows are getting long, and it's getting a little bit late. Extra period coming your way. Ohio State and Purdue tied at 20 through 4 quarters of play. Back to West Lafayette right after this. Overtime at Ross-Ade Stadium for Luke Fickell and Ohio State. An amazing comeback to get here. Trailing by 6 late, Braxton Miller tied the game with under a minute to go, but the extra point was blocked. Reminder of overtime rules in college football. Coin toss determines choice of possession or defense. Each team gets a possession at the opponent's 25-yard line. Team retains the ball until scoring or fails to make a first down. And so Purdue opts for defense to see what they need to do should Ohio State score. Dan Herron, Zach Bourne in the backfield. And Herron has turned it up in the 4th quarter and beyond, but he gets stopped behind the line of scrimmage by Will Lucas. So Ohio State has struggled throwing the ball, Rack. They've done a good job late in this game with the run game. How does that affect them now playing with a short field in overtime?
Well, I would anticipated to see a little bit of play action coming, because Purdue knows that they're going to try to run the football, especially once the drive starts at the 25-yard line. I'll be interested to see if they try to take an opportunity through the air, see if they can't hit their tight end or one of the receivers coming across the formation, get a little bit deeper into Purdue territory.
Play action, as you said. Miller sets up, looked at Stoneburner, now takes off the opposite way. Stiff arm won't get him anywhere, and he's thrown for a loss by Dwayne Beckford. And now all of a sudden, even though the wind is at their back, you have to consider field goal territory for Ohio State and Drew Basil.
Well, Braxton Miller, you like his chances when he gets in the open field, but Dwayne Beckford, outstanding job of staying with him, trying to get a stiff arm from a quarterback, but he grabs onto his jersey and his shoulder pads, does not let go, and backs up Ohio State to their 31-yard line.
They may not need a first down, but they need some yardage here. Drew Basil as long as 47. It would be 48 from here just to get on the board. Quarterback draw, anybody? Miller wants to throw. Lets it go. Caught. First down, Ohio State. Short of the first down. T.Y. Williams came back to get the football. He was beyond the 15, but came back to grab it. And that will bring up 4th and 1 after a pickup of 14. And so the kicking team comes on. At the very least for Ohio State, a much better range for Basil and much closer.
Well, it's a really nice throw and catch, and I liked how Williams came back to the football. You got to make sure you don't get undercut. You'd like to see him put his foot in the ground and pick up a couple extra yards. But an ever so important field goal opportunity for Ohio State.
33-yard attempt. Basil is perfect this season inside 40. And Ohio State able to get on the board first. The kick is good from Drew Basil. 23-20 here in overtime. And Purdue will get a crack at it.
So late in the ball game, we've seen Braxton Miller make a couple of really nice throws that we hadn't seen pretty much throughout the entire ball game. Of course, the touchdown to Jordan Hall to get the game tied up. And then that ball right there to T.Y. Williams, which made it a much more manageable field goal opportunity for Drew Basil. So I like the fact that Braxton Miller settled into his groove a little bit, and he was able to get some points on the board.
Valera's hardest working players, Bruce Gaston, blocked extra point in the 4th quarter after Braxton Miller hooked up with Jordan Hall to tie the game. Basil had made every one of his extra points this season until then. Robert Marve still in the game at quarterback. He threw an interception to close regulation. Caleb Turbush started the game, started the second half. Play action to start overtime, and Marve throws it complete inside the 20-yard line to Justin Siller. Don't forget, the State Farm postgame show is coming your way. Highlights, scores, analysis of all of today's games throughout the Big Ten division races. Hot and heavy coming down the stretch here in November. Second down. Handoff Bolden. Bolden met. Drop. No gain. Maybe a loss of a yard. Garrett Goebel was up front, along with Michael Bennett. Remember, Ohio State has been playing without Jonathan Hankins, who went down with an injury a couple of possessions ago for Purdue.
I like the fact that Purdue is stuck with Robert Marve in this situation. Caleb Turbush has not been on the field for a while. Stick with the quarterback that's loose, that's had a little bit of momentum. But can Robert Marve make a big play at a crucial point in this ball game?
3rd and 4, timeout Purdue.
Timeout Purdue. Their only timeout of the overtime.
Robert Marve suffered a knee injury in the offseason. He's been banged up and a little bit rusty over the first half of the season and even into Big Ten play. But the coaches told us yesterday that he shouldn't be any slower now. He seems to be healthy.
Yeah, they were happy to get him back to 100%. And I had asked Gary Nord, the offensive coordinator, how is he doing emotionally and mentally? Because that's the biggest part of recovery from a knee injury. And he said, you know what, I have no doubt that he's back to 100% in between the ears. And I think this is a testament, the fact that they're going with him at this crucial point in the ball game.
Boy, they're coming down to the wire all over the place. Penn State trailing Nebraska late. They have Ohio State and then Wisconsin remaining. Badgers at Minnesota this afternoon, then in Champaign, and then closing with Penn State. The Buckeyes get Penn State at home and then go to Michigan. Remember, if it comes down to a 3-way tie, Ohio State right now would hold the tiebreaker against Wisconsin, thanks for that 4th quarter comeback against the Badgers. 3rd and 4. Marve pressured. Now he's going to try and run with it, and looking for the first down, physically fights his way to move the chains for Purdue. A pickup of 6.
Excellent individual effort right there by Robert Marve, knowing that this was such an important spot in the ball game. A lot of quarterbacks will slide or try to run out of bounds. Instead, being chased by Shazier and Howard, he gets just enough to give Purdue some life and an extra set of downs.
Ohio State without 2 of their starters, Sweat and Hankins, on this talented defense, but now Purdue trying to win it in overtime. First down, Marve, quarterback draw, and Marve picks up a couple. Storm Klein comes in to take Marv down. Miami transfer Robert Marv never got his career on track in the ACC, and injuries have derailed his goals here at Purdue. Now he has a chance for a signature victory in overtime against Ohio State, coming off the bench for the Boilermakers.
I think this is the opportunity that Purdue needs to take a shot. Try to run some play action, see if you can't get, well, we're not going to see play action. They're going with an empty set. But let Robert Marv take a shot and see if he can't get into the end zone.
He's run it twice here. Setting up the screen. Catch made. Nowhere to go, and they lose yardage on the second down play. Siller threw on the brakes, facing all of that traffic, a loss of 4.
Purdue likes to run these screens. A lot of times you're wondering if they could try to get Siller to slide through a gap in that defense to try to make a play. Again, is Purdue going to play it safe and wait for a field goal, or are they going to take a shot and try to win the ball game?
Third and 12. Marv looks downfield to the end zone. Caught! First down, Purdue. Hustling out of bounds at the 1 is Gary Bush. And Purdue has a chance for its second straight home upset against Ohio State. On third down, a pickup of 14.
Again, Marv showing that competitive nature. No, he's going to take a hit right at the last second. He sees Bush coming across open on a crossing route. He's able to deliver it just high enough to where he can get his hands on it. Now Purdue with the ball inside the 1-yard line.
Crank, the fullback. Bolden, the tailback.
The previous play is under further review.
They're going to
the
check.
ruling on the field is out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
You're going to check the spot on the completion, and if the receiver got the ball over the pylon.
I didn't really see anything on whether or not Bush actually reached for the pylon. Well, right at the last second he does, but it looks like that left foot was already in the black by the time he reached the football out.
This is a conversation that we had with the Big Ten officials right before the game with Jim Augustine. If that ball was over the pylon before his foot came down, it's a Purdue touchdown. He also gets goal line extended out of bounds if it was over the pylon before his foot came down on the sideline.
I think the official made the right call on this one. He had a front row seat. He was only a couple of yards away from Bush as he was coming out of bounds. But I think he got this one right. I think that foot came out of bounds before he stretched the ball over the pylon.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. There was a catch, and the ball's out of bounds at the half-yard line. First down.
Purdue and Danny Hope trying to snap a 2-game losing streak, and they're trying to do it here at home against Ohio State. On 3rd and 12, Marv to Bush. 4-14. Catch made, foot down. Wisconsin, Minnesota coming your way next. But here, overtime. Crank the fullback, Bolden the tailback. Purdue trying to knock off Ohio State, and they empty the backfield. Marv may keep. Quarterback sneak. He's in. Touchdown, Purdue. And the Boilermakers upset Ohio State for the 2nd straight time at home. United States Marines salute Robert Marv, today's leader of the game. Game-winning touchdown in overtime, and the quarterback sneak. And a signature victory in the long and winding road of the transfer quarterback.
See the patience there by Robert Marv. He actually pulls the ball out and goes a couple of gaps wider. Ball was in his left hand. All he had to do is break the plane to the goal line. Boilermakers win again over Ohio State.
Fans rush the field here. Breakfast Club has turned into happy hour here at Ross-Ade Stadium. Overtime victory for Purdue, 26-23. This has been an exclusive presentation of the Big Ten Network. For Derek Rackley, Lisa Byington, I'm Tom Hart saying so long from West Lafayette. Now, we take you to Dave Rebson and company back in our Chicago studio to recap this one and get you set for the next game on BTN. Robert Marv and Purdue in overtime outlast Ohio State 26-23.